Uh, all right. What's going on, everybody? Pardon the little late start here. Had to have a conversation with Real on the background just to make sure he could make it in tonight. He will be here in a moment. We'll be getting everything kicking off right about now. So, you know how we open things up with, right? Find somebody who knows somebody to tell somebody about what we've got going on over here. If you like it, let us know. Share it if you do. And subscribe. This is what you're looking for. All right, so tonight we've been having good luck here and people have been giving favorable commentary. So once more, we're going to go ahead and we're going to shift away from my own monologue. And once more tonight, the council is going to take over. I repeat, the council of OGs is going to take over. All right, and you know me, let's go ahead and set the mood right about now. So tonight, I think we'll kick it off with Moonchild, featuring Eric Lau and Katie Tatham. Here we go, Runaway. Let me know how this feels to you. Fair use, fair use.
Like we never knew love, giving you this space. All I've got to say stuck spinning that in my head. I'm done, I'm not gonna pretend, no. I should have known it'd be
Hey, let's go ahead and put it in the background here.
Mr. OG's joining us tonight.
Yes, sir. Hey, Rilla will be here in just a moment. TC, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Hey, doing all right, doing all right. I got your message a little bit late, but I didn't get a chance to fashion what you had in mind for.
It don't matter. We can just roll with it. You know, I'm easy to please.
Hey, you know what? I still like the ideas of cuts that you have here, so we're definitely going to get that out, folks. And also, just to let you know again, folks, if you didn't know, the title of tonight's show is When Music Had a Message. And again, this is just feeding off the conversation that TC and Rilla and I had about a week or so ago, talking about how music is a reminder for a lot of folks. Again, music is what some people would look at as being the socket, right? It's the plug for the most part. It is the memory for a lot of folks. But at the same time, it's also a cadence of history. So therefore, it's important to keep things like that in mind. So I'll go ahead and give the shout out right now to anyone who is in the replay game who's watching this. Sorry you couldn't make it, but if you could have made it live, you would have had a good time nonetheless. All right, appreciate it, appreciate you. So what we're going to do here when Rilla gets up here, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. And TC, what can you tell me about music having the message when you were a young man?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's pretty much all we had to go on back then, is what music was you listening to. And the OGs used to listen to a channel called, Mr. OG knows that, it's called WAMO. And there's a disc jockey on there named Porky Chedwick. Well, Porky Chedwick would play all the black songs. Nobody would play them. But he was giving these dudes their just due. So he started playing all these songs, and you're hearing Billy Stewart, you're hearing the Intruders, Main Ingredients, all that stuff. There was a lot of music that I kind of locked into then as I was growing up. And I don't know if anybody knows this, that one of the singers in the Main Ingredients, Cuba Gooding Jr., his dad was one of the singers. Are you muted?
Yeah, I didn't know that. I knew his dad was a musician, but I thought he was more of an instrumentalist. I didn't know he sang also.
Yeah, he sang. He was in the Main Ingredients, and I think he sang. It's one of them songs he was in there. And I looked at him, and then I looked at his son. I'm like, damn, man, he sure do look alike. But somebody reminded me, whose dad that is. I'm thinking, who? He says Cuba Gooding Jr. That's his dad. I never knew that. So he was one of the singers on the Main Ingredients, Philadelphia group. So it was either the Intruders, the Main Ingredients, the Delphonics, the Originals. All them songs tied into everything that you're dealing with in life. Even my first high school sweetheart, I can remember the first song that was played when I met her, and it was "Baby I'm Real" by the Originals. I'll never forget that song. That's the first song I heard in high school.
Oh shit! So you talking what, like the mid to late 60s?
70s. You get into the 70s there, along that line. I was born in '56, so in high school.
Okay.
Oh, just don't want to be lonely. Yeah, that's one of the Main Ingredients song there. But yeah, I remember that song very vividly when I was seeing that girl. And I can tell you what I had to go through. I had to meet her dad, her mother, her brothers, her grandmother, grandfather, uncles.
I forgot. What a lot of people seem to forget is that when you got together back in the day, it was a whole process, because dating was something that was new. Just the side street here for folks who don't know, dating was something that was more 20th century. I want to say it's probably late 20s, early 30s, somewhere around there, that dating became a part of the culture. But before then, it used to be a direct courting thing where you made it known, hey, sir, I'm interested in your daughter. It went from there. Yes. But then dating got to be a part of the process. And even then, you had to make sure you met her parents as a young man if you were following and wanted to talk to this girl. You had, like Top Cat was saying, you had to meet her mom, you had to meet her dad, and woe on you if she had brothers, especially if she was younger. You know what I'm saying, Top Cat? Especially if she was the baby. That meant that if you were out and about and one of her brothers saw you and you were messing around sideways, either he took care of you right then and there, or he made sure that she knew about it and let her decide how she wanted to deal with it, because they didn't play that type of nonsense. This thing of the bro code, it didn't really exist back then.
The dad said to me, he met me, I met everybody, and the grandmother was doing most of the grilling. Who's your mama? Where you live at? Who's your dad? So the dad said to the brothers, one of the brothers, he had 3 brothers. He says, you make sure he gets home. That's what he said. You make sure you give him a ride home. So every time I was at her house, one of them guys was taking me home.
Oh, that's right. The chaperone.
Absolutely. So the dad's like, you need a ride home? I'm like, yes, sir. He said, David, make sure you get the ride home. And that's the way it was back then. It was something. But it wasn't that blowing the horn and her coming out. You had to go through the door. There wasn't none of that. Blow the horn, you know how they come out. You had to go knock on the door. You had to go knock on the door. But
you had to present yourself.
That's the thing. And the people don't realize the different stages that we had to deal with growing up, where you had to be proper. And that's the way it was. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. And that's the way that's the way I come up.
I can think also, going into that as a transition to what we're talking about, the music. One of the things that when I stop and think about the music, as you said, it also makes you give pause to what was going on in society. But if you were talking to a particular girl, there were songs that were now, since videos were coming out, well, this is for me, I was like maybe, I want to say 12 or 13. Probably you do, but if you recall, back in 82, there were video shows that were just coming out and you were able to watch on Friday and Saturday nights. Now, I remember on Friday nights, it used to be night tracks on TBS. Mm-hmm. And then back when USA was just a rerun type of channel, this is before they had original programming, mm-hmm. They would have a video show on Friday night as well on USA. But then again, on NBC, they also had Friday night videos. And I remember the Friday night videos I started watching because that's when Michael Jackson released Thriller. Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, scared the shit out of me. I'm grown, I'm 12 years old, right? But still, I would not walk 20 feet from my room to go in the kitchen to get a glass of water. I had to stop and think about it.
Well, back in them days, there's black and white TVs. So anything you want to watch, if you had money, you had color. That didn't come way later until we moved from one place to the other. And I can remember watching all the dance. They had like Dick Clark and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, that was the Saturday thing. Soul Train.
Yes, American Bandstand. That's what we was watching back in them days. And they used to have all them dance shows on there, and that's when you got to see like all the groups like Chuck Berry and all them. And that's how you really got locked into all that, because Ed Sullivan. That's how you really got locked into all that, because you was listening to that. So it was our life was full of music. Let's just say that. My family and my next door neighbors, that's all they knew about was music. So us young dudes, we had all the latest stuff from all them groups. So it was a very interesting lifestyle as a child, though.
All right, I got one for you. So I want to say it was Edwin Starr. Was it War?
Yes.
You got, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
Yes.
So give me a breakdown if you could, TC, because obviously I wasn't on scene just yet. I know about War because my father had. I want to say, didn't they have a double platinum? It came out somewhere in the 70s, but I recall the song itself. So what was the environment at that point in time when that song came on the radio?
Well, that was around. I think when Vietnam was just getting started. I think, and I'll say this. I'll say in '69, my brother graduated from high school. He went into the service and never come back. February 17th, 1970, he was killed in Vietnam. So I remember that song pretty much after that. They come out with that song and they start playing over and over and over. And then you start listening to the words and it's like, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. And if people would listen to the words to the song, it related to what was going on in Vietnam at that time. And that's pretty deep. It's pretty deep. But the date I'll never ever forget in my mind, because it's so clearly in my mind, that date, February 17th, 1970. And that's something that I'll never forget. He got blown up by a landmine. That's what happened.
Oh, those OG.
Yeah, and it was hard, but I at that time, it took an effect on me at that time, so I kind of shut down a little bit. But I said, you know what? I'm just gonna live through him, because he was just like me, happy-go-lucky. And that's the way he was. He was always that way. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna live for him. And yeah, the music, being out and around him, picking up things from him, listening to certain music. So yeah, I got it good.
For me, when I look back at that time period, I was born in 1970. So by the time I was formulating memories about a few things here and there, I can recall, just as we talked about before, albums that my father had that he would play on his little on his, I guess, his record player that my mother bought. That's kind of a wooden console. I remember sitting down and listening to him playing with that, and then my mother had to take it back. Something wasn't working, and she bought him something else. But there was always something that was on that seemed it was war related, because 74, that's when I want to say when Vietnam had ended, 74. But prior to that, I remember a few years after that, there were movies that were coming out that were looking at that period, such as the movie, was it called Hair? Or it's called Hair. Where's the Sunshine? Something like that. I remember Treat Williams being one of the characters in that. And the thing that got me is that I was always seeing these different war movies, but I never understood the context of it. But there was always, again, songs. And again, the war, what is it good for? I can remember that always being a theme somewhere along the way. Of course, there was some music. There were some original cuts as well, but it was
Hmm.
always something about war and the music that was there. And what used to kill me is that when you would watch movies where you had the black soldiers,
Yes.
you see that there was always one of them had a radio somewhere, and then there was someone,
Yes.
if I think it was Armed Forces News Network, or if then there was playing something, and it was always some type of soul song. It could have
Right.
been, like you said, the Intruders. It could
Hmm.
have been the Four Tops. It could have been the Temptations. But the war experience that I recall from listening and watching that movie was mainly from a perspective of Motown.
Right.
That's what, when I look at war movies, that's always the sound that I generally hear. It's
Hmm.
always some type of Motown group. So when
Hmm.
I look at a war movie, that's
Hmm.
what I'm listening for. Or if not, they give you the perspective of the white soldier. Then of course it's going to be something from his background that he would be listening to.
Right. Well, 1970, that song come out. So that's just funny. My brother was killed in 1970. That that song "War" come out in 1970. So the war had been going on prior to him releasing that song. So that's what made him record that song, I guess. And people at that time, people were tired of that stuff. And I used to see that on TV when I was younger. Walter Cronkite would come on about what's going on over there in Vietnam, and
Walter Cronkite.
yeah,
I can just barely remember him.
yeah, and we would watch that, and I'm thinking maybe I'll see him on there. Nah, there wasn't a chance of that. So I really didn't understand the effect until this good friend of mine. They had to send him to a mental hospital. He had so bad a breakdown behind that because they went in on a buddy plan. And that back then they had buddy plans where you can go in on a buddy plan.
Oh,
Go,
yeah, you guys going together.
yes, and knowing that he's gone, when he come back, I guess he had a meltdown and his parent tore his parents' house up there to put him away for a while. And after he got out, I refused to talk about him. I would never bring up his name. I wouldn't talk about him because I knew how much it bothered him. And then we started talking about it. And I think that was good for him. I guess he wanted to see where my head was at and all that. So hanging out with him, I got to experience a little more music. And that was Cream, the group
Cream.
Cream with Eric Clapton.
Oh, okay. That's why it didn't stick on me too well. I remember some of the earlier groups that Eric Clapton was with, but I
Yeah,
never really listened to a lot of the music.
but I said, I'm looking at him like, here's the brother listening to listening to a white group. You know what I mean? That's what was going through my head. And he put this song on, and it's called, I'll never forget it. It's called "Sitting on Top of the World." After I heard that, and he said, listen to this guitar. After I heard that, my mind was completely thrown out there. It's like, who is this Eric Clapton? And from then on there, I started listening and I started honing in. I mean, to tell you, man, I was hooked. I was hooked. The way he played his guitar and the way he wanted to play the blues is pretty much what he played. And people would get mad, and he would just tell people, he's like, you know what? This is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to play, and I'm going to keep playing it. And that's exactly what he did.
Eric and the Dominoes. I think that's what
Yeah,
I'm thinking of.
yeah,
There we go.
Derek the Dominoes. Yeah. So I knew about Cream, but like I said, and I kept wondering, why does this dude keep playing this? He would play that song over and over and over, and I'm like, why does this dude keep playing this? What happened to the Temptations and Four Tops? He wasn't playing that.
Well,
So
obviously,
there
obviously
again,
it had a message to him of some sort.
yeah. So I
Yeah, there was a
graduated.
message in that. Did you ever find out what it was and why he played the song so much?
No, I think that he was so much into the guitar thing and then Eric Clapton, and then now I'm sitting down every time I go to his house. He's playing. I'm sitting on top of the world. I'll never forget that song. And next thing I know, later on, I started researching it and I started listening to it, but it didn't have a lot of meaning now that it did then because I was already past that and in the other things that Eric Clapton has been playing. And I mean to tell you what, I'm telling you something. That the way he plays got me so emotional, so like BB King. But this dude puts so much emotion in everything he does, and I'm like, man, I was just hooked. So went from Eric Clapton. There's so many groups, but I guess the first group that I can say that this white dude turned me on to was Chicago.
I
And I
was
was just,
getting ready to say that. That was
yes,
one of the groups that I remember from back when I was a kid, just listening to, was it 25?
the 6 to 4.
No, 64, yeah. 25, 64, waiting till the break of day. And I would always make sure I sat by the radio. When you're a kid, sometimes you just sit by the radio and you'll wait for
Mhm.
the song. And then when you were old enough, you got the tape recorder.
Right.
and you and you would sit there for hours just waiting for that
Yes.
one song to come on. And when it did, you physically
Yeah.
tried to hit because you had to hit two buttons at the same time, right? You had to hit play and you had to hit
You hit
record at the
record,
same
yep.
time in order to record it and get it onto the cassette tape.
Now that guy that played the guitar was Terry Cass. I
Oh,
got
very cat.
I
Yeah.
got into that, and I went back and searching, and that 25 or 6 to 4, they made it because it was getting high. Should I try to do some more 25 or 6 to 4? So it was 25 minutes for 6 to 4, something like that. That's what they were staying up all night, getting high and all that. That time it was weed and coke, I think, at that time. So what he was doing is he was messing around with them guns, and the dude told him put the gun down. He took the clip out, forgot he had one in the chamber, put it up his head, pulled the trigger, and blew his brains out.
1977. I remember that because I was getting ready for school, and the broadcast broke for a second and said, "Hey, we just want to let everybody know that Terry Cass from Chicago passed away today. He was messing around. They said he was playing Russian roulette or something like that.
Yeah.
But they said that there was still a bullet in the gun,
Yep.
and he just happened to pull the trigger, and it was chambered. And there it was.
So they lost him. And they were just getting ready to change over because he didn't like all that brass and stuff in there.
Oh, the brass is what, to me,
Yes.
brass is what made Chicago what it was. It was like the white version of Earth, Wind, and Fire. But it was
Yes.
nothing better than when Earth, Wind, and Fire and Chicago brass got together. And you
Yes.
still get goosebumps just thinking about that. And there was always some type of outing that they were at. And when the music, when it came through and that brass is hit, you sit there and think to yourself, this is a moment that I've got to keep in my mind here. This is history.
Yeah.
But it depends on how much you listen to the music, because the message is only going to be worth something to you if it's something that you're going to value. And the way that you take it in, again, with music, as is anything else, is that whatever value that you have is going to be shown or expressed when you hear it.
Yeah, there's a lot of songs that Terry wrote back then. He wrote about the war. I know he wrote about that. And a lot of stuff, they had the president, they had mentioned his name in it. So they tried to get everything in there about what was going on in society. And then you fast forward to after he left, them songs really got deep because they was hitting home with the words and how they was writing it. And I'm thinking, oh man, these dudes come a long way. But there's a white dude that introduced me to Chicago. He said, you got to listen to this group. I'm like, who in the hell is Chicago? When he started playing some of them songs, I still remember them to this day. It was really something to, and that's all we really listened to. And I was in high school when Chicago was really getting big. I was in high school, and that's all we used to play over and over. Them songs just ring so clear. And the dude that introduced me to Chicago, he ended up passing away. That hurt me because we were like brothers. I would spend the night over his house, we would hang out and everything. The next thing you know, it's like, hey man, your boy done died. It's like, what? So my eyes are really open to so many things, man. I mean, to tell you, it was really, and I was experiencing stuff in high school. These dudes deleting themselves. 2 dudes I know delete themselves when I was in high school. One behind a girl. He took his dad's service revolver, went into the house, blew his brains out. Another dude took a
Over a girl.
shotgun. Yeah, another dude took a shotgun, went up to the park where I didn't live too far from, took a shotgun, shot himself. Both over females.
Well, you have got nothing but history, OG. Whether it's good or bad, there's something you can reflect on.
Yeah,
Uh,
but it was a learning lesson, John, because it woke me up to you got to be careful, and that kind of opened my eyes up about relationships and stuff, So that meant, hey, how'd they go? Well, that girl, that's all I need to know. So that put me on the high alert right there. It's like, don't get don't get your dog off feelings and stuff tied up in that stuff because if they do that to you, that's something.
I got something for you here, OG. I had to look around. I knew I had it in my email. This is your short list. All right. So I'm not sure what Rilla's held up on, but I'm sure he'll get here when he can here in a moment. Otherwise, let's do this. So let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Let me go ahead and share this screen. Because of the fact I wasn't able to put yours in the format that I wanted to,
all right.
I've got something better here. What we'll just go ahead and do here. Tell you what, let me go ahead and shut the background music off so we don't have any echoes. All right, let me pause that down. There we go.
Right. Get done.
Screen. There we go. So we can get some sound to it. All right. So I went out and I got your list. All right, folks, just to let you know what we've got going on here. So again, the theme is when music had a message. All right. So I sent this out here to Top Cat. I sent it out to ChicagoRilla. And I've got a little list myself. I'll hold on to mine because Rilla and I are closer when it comes to the music that he and I grew up with, per se, that might ring true here. But we got some vintage memories here that I thought I'd put out here first. So I want to make sure that we do this first and foremost. Add this to the stage. This is what I believe, number one, Dells of What a Night. So let me run this for a couple of seconds. And when it finishes, we'll do about maybe 14 to 15 seconds. I want you to tell me, TC, what was on your mind and what was the atmosphere of the time when this song came out. Fair use, fair use.
I love you so. Oh, what a night.
Oh, what a night.
All right. So what can you tell me about this song? Where you were in life at that particular time, and what was the temperature of the world around?
You want to be honest about this? I want to be honest about it. I can remember borrowing my mother's car, and my mother had a Electra 225.
Oh, the big Buick.
Now I had a Camaro, and back in the back seat of that Camaro had a hump. You wasn't if you're gonna do something. you weren't gonna do nothing with no hump. It just so happens this song's on. Now I'm playing the radio. This song comes on, and we're back her laying on the back seat, no hugging and kissing her, And next thing I know, she's like, "You better look at the time. I have to be home at a certain hour." And at that time, I don't know. I think it was about 10 o'clock or something like that. So I said, okay. So I drove her home. So walked her to the door, kissed her, and that's what I remember about the song. Oh, what a night. I was like, even though I didn't smash, I got a kiss. At least I got a hug and a kiss. That was good enough for me. I said, hell, I made it that far.
Take your wins, right?
Yeah, but I think, though, she thought it was just getting to that point where she just might be ready. She's like, nah, I ain't ready for this. Just take me home.
If you're ready, you better walk away. Here's your second one. The Originals. Baby, yeah. I'm Real.
Mm-hmm.
Fair use. Fair use. Wow. Fair use. Fair use.
Mhm.
Baby, baby,
Yep,
you don't
I'll
understand
go with the sugar.
man.
how much I love you, baby.
That's some high school days. That's like I said. That's the first time that I was invited over her house, and we're sitting in the house. She had a little, I don't know, it's like an off area, off from the living room, like a little area where you can sit, and we had our privacy. But her sister was playing this song in the next room, like, and I'm sitting there,
Was she
I
on your
like,
team and you didn't realize it?
huh?
Was she on your team and you didn't realize it?
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Helping you out.
So I'm like, I'm listening to this song, and I said to her, and I'll say her, their name's Patty. I says, Patty, you hear that song? And she's listening. So I started humming it. And I'm like, when I got to the love part now, it was too soon for that. But I said, you can understand what I'm trying to say. And she looked at me and started smiling. And man, I'm going to tell you something about that chocolate girl. That girl had my heart going 100 miles an hour, man. I mean, my nose is so wide open, you can drive a Mack truck through that thing. Because
That's why.
she
That's
was it.
why.
Yeah, man, she was it. And guess what? No makeup, no eyelashes, natural hair in the ponytail.
No, like 5-inch fingernails, anything like that.
Nope. Didn't have no fingernail polish or nothing. Didn't wear dresses past her knees and all that. No, man, that was natural beauty there. And I remember that song. I'll never forget that song. Every time I hear it, I think of her.
So tell me this. Here's your other one from your list. Number 3, Spinners. Love Don't Love Nobody. Fair use, everybody.
Damn. That's deep.
One in the background just warming up, right?
Oh, yeah. This song was deep, man.
Like a Sunday morning. I sleep that day.
Sometimes.
Fair use. Fair use.
Come and go.
Man.
You reach for love,
Yes, man.
but life won't let you know.
Yep.
This is Felipe singing, right?
Huh?
At the end,
Felipe singing, right?
I think so, yeah.
you'll be loving her,
Yep.
but then she's gone.
Talk to me, Top Cat. What does that song bring back for memories, and what was the time for you?
I was a little older. I was dating this girl. And let me tell you something. I shouldn't say this, but this girl was in junior high school. I was like in my 20s, I think. That's way old because she was way younger than me. But this girl had me so head over heels, man. I mean, to tell you, now that went into the smashing phase, and I was smashing and smashing. I got hooked on that stuff. And then come to find out, you know me, I was a dog back then. I played with fire, and I just got to say I got burnt. One thing led to another. I ended up getting busted doing something I should have did. So she wanted to go, but man, that shit hurt me to my heart, man. But I didn't learn. But I would play this song, and I think my mother. I was sitting down at the table. My mother's like, "What's the matter with you?" And I laid it out. What's the matter with you? There's all the women out there. Were you sitting up there crying over that girl? And the parents don't understand. And my mother didn't want to hear all that crap. Suck it up. There'll be somebody else. We won't tell me nothing because that took effect on me for a while until I just got past it and said, "Oh, I ain't doing that no more. I'm not going to give my heart anymore." And then end up, even though it was my fault, getting my heart hurt like that. I didn't want to just get in really deep involved with somebody. After hearing that song, I'm like, I'm done with that, man. I'm no, that was
Well
good.
then, well let's do this then. If you're done with that, I got your number 5 song. Let's move away from that one. Check it out. Is this your song? James Ingram. This is number 4 off your list. I don't have the heart. Fair
Yep.
use. Fair use. I just barely remembered it.
Man. Mm-mm-mm.
Your face is beaming. You say it's 'cause you're
Fair use. Fair use.
dreaming.
Yep.
Your power is going to be. You say you've been around, and now you finally found.
Mm-hmm.
What you got on that top, cat? So
Everything you wanted in me. There again, another female had a baby. This is this is serious shit. Now she had a baby, right? And man, this black girl was fine as hell, but I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. It's like I don't have the heart to hurt you. I mean, just let's stay friends. But see, this is the thing now. I had a car, I had a job. She didn't work. She still lived at home, but she's looking for me to be that type of man that I just couldn't do that. So I just, I didn't have the heart to hurt her feelings, and that's what that ties into. So I had to just step away from that. I cared for her and everything, but I wasn't on that type of love time. Just like I related to you before about it takes the fool to learn that love don't love nobody. Then you come into this, and that's what really opened my eyes up to say, I'm not gonna do this no more. You know, so that reminded me a lot of that. You know,
yeah, pardon me for just a second there, Copy. I just got word here. Someone said that the live chat here for the session is locked. Let me take a quick look. What's going on with that? But give me a little bit more insight about that here. Keep the folks rolling here because again, the whole deal of I don't have a heart. That sounds like there was something in that because to me, if
yes,
you know that you're not ready to do something and you don't want to sacrifice someone's time
right.
because that will be affecting them, hey, props, man. That's respect as far as I can say.
Yeah, I couldn't. I didn't. I want to be a father. I was too damn young. I mean, what the hell? You got a baby. I'm like, no, I like you, but I don't like you like that. I know she had tears in her eyes, but I wasn't trying to hurt her or nothing like that, But I just wanted to say, look, I didn't smash her. It didn't get that far because I wasn't that involved with her. But there again, I had to guard my heart, but I just didn't have the heart to just tell her, that I cared, and I really didn't. But I cared for her in a friendship way, but it wasn't no more than that. So that guy there, man, he James Ingram did a lot for me because that spoke volume for me. I like you, but it ain't that deep, you know. And then that was that. And that was good for me because you know what? I didn't get my feelings involved like that. So it was easy for me to walk away knowing that I didn't hurt you, but I was honest up front that this ain't gonna go nowhere, because she already had a baby to somebody. Now I'm figuring I'm not gonna get tied up in that, get my feelings all wrapped up, and then what? She goes back to this dude, and then I'm left hand. No, I ain't dealing with that. So I just don't have the heart. But I seen his video live, and I want to tell you something. That brought back so many memories. He's danced with that girl on the on the floor, and she's all into him, but he's like, I just don't have the heart, you know. Like I just don't have the heart to love you like the way you want me to. I just don't have the heart.
Didn't make a mess. So the good thing is that you did not make a mess of the situation. That's the biggest thing to take away from that. Again, you got to have respect for that.
Oh man, I was like, I mean, after you're hurt the first time, you're gonna guard against that, and you have to be mindful of that. And then after seeing all my friends go through that, I'm like, nah, I ain't gonna be the next casualty. Hell, hell that bullshit.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna get me like that. I know coochie is good and all that, but I ain't wrapped up all like that to be doing that crazy stuff like that. Mm-mm. No, man, I was good.
Well, I'll tell you what, before we move on here, TC, so what I'm getting here is at least you just let me know here that for some other reason, I'm taking a look at it right now. I am not sure. Let me change this. I'm not sure why this thing is showing the chat locked here. Let me see if I can try and make a change. If not,
Well, just restart the show.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking I may do if I can't.
Yeah, that's
Let me
cool.
take a look here. Add your stream. All right, here we go. Choose now. Comments should be okay. I missed something. There was something up here that said that it was made for kids. So no, it is not made for kids. So Alicia, if you can, take a look and see if you can comment now. So I think I'd actually clipped the setting that I didn't mean to clip here. But you should be able to join now. At least that's what it's telling me. So if anybody's out there, if you want to, go ahead and see if you can put a comment in. At least if you can't put a comment in, like TC's saying, I'll go ahead, pause, break the stream. We'll just start it back up. But go ahead and see if you can put something in right about now.
Because I don't have my phone to check it, or I would.
So I'm glad she did say something because I didn't even notice. You just ask her right now. So I just talked Chicago not more than 20, maybe 10 or 20 minutes before the show. And I do not know where he's gotten off to.
Oh, wow. So we'll be here for a while.
All right, there we go.
You good?
Yep. She is able to comment. Thank you for that. I was trying to figure out now, people have normally commented by now. Why was I not seeing anything?
Right.
Okay, yeah. All right. So yeah, we're good now.
So anyway, that's pretty much how I base my life on, is through songs. And I relate the things that I dealt with in my life through songs. Although I never discussed this shit with my friends or anybody who was close, I always kept that to myself. So the OGs used to teach me, you have your coming on music and your going off music. That's what the OGs used to teach me. You play your coming on music, it's like we're doing. So at the end of your playlist, it was your going off music. Where you gonna play going off, So
well, I got something that you played here. Tell me about this. Again, this is your list. By the way, folks, find somebody who knows somebody to tell somebody about what we've got going on. If you like it, let me know. Share it if you do. And subscribe if this is what you're looking for. Again, for anyone just joining, tonight's topic is when music had a message. And right about now, we're going through some of the music that resonates with Top Cat. And matter of fact, oh my, look at this hair. Explain this, TC. Explain this, TC. Look at this. Look at this. That is one of them Ruffin boys, right? That's David Ruffin, correctly, right?
David Ruffin, yeah.
Fair use. The Temptations, all I need.
Oh man.
When I think about how I hurt you so, after you've been so good to me, I've been unfaithful, I've caused you misery, a feeling of guilt.
You, my
Speak on
dog.
Top Cat. What was the message that was feels from the music, and what did it mean to you?
I'm gonna blurt this out. I might as well just say it, even though it hurts.
Hey, don't get us thrown out.
No, it ain't nothing like that. I was seeing this girl, and I was pretty serious about her. But then, like I said, I was still out there running around. I'm gonna tell you what happened. I'm gonna be honest about this shit. So I had this girl over my apartment, not the one I was seeing, but somebody else, knowing that the girl I was seeing was busy doing something. She already had the key to my apartment. And get this, I'm getting ready to get in the shower. This girl's in my apartment, and she opens the door. She comes in, and she says, "What the hell is this?" I want to tell you something. It's like somebody sucked the blood clean out of my body through my feet because I was busted. Now, mind you, this girl she treated me right, did everything for me, but I had to be a dog, see, thinking that I'm gonna get away with this.
Mm.
And that's the only song that I remembered that you listen to, but it's not gonna do no good because once the trust is broken, it's
My bad. I
over.
didn't mean to laugh.
No, but I can laugh now, but once the trust is broken, it's over with. That's what guys don't understand. Once they catch you cheating, it's over. They're not
Let
gonna
me ask
trust
you
you
a
anymore.
question since we got one lady in here. Lisa, if you ever caught a dude cheating, and I mean you walked and you caught him, she's sitting there. Is there a chance for him to get back in your good graces if you catch him cheating, or if he tells you that he's cheating but he won't do it again? So if she's still here, I'll wait to see what she has to say about that.
Man, I mean, oh man. Hey John, you don't understand. There's man, that was deep. I mean, I don't know. I just felt bad. I really felt bad. But there again, I was skating under the raindrops, so to speak. I didn't learn my lesson. So, you know me, I'm like, okay, I'll move on to the next.
Okay, so speaking of, since it's like that here, here's your hey, you gave it to me here. We doing this, folks. We here. We're doing this. All right. So here's your next choice. Number 6, Larry Graham. Just be my lady. Oh, fair use. Fair use. Forgive me, sir, but it seems like you were into some shit.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, hey, here we go. At least he's got something to say.
Yeah.
Man, for the input.
Just be my lady.
Man.
Everything will be all right. Just be my lady.
With your cold ass.
Man.
Day and night. Just be my lady.
Whew, sounds like that man was pleading.
Man, that song comes to mind when I met the first Mrs. OG. She was a majorette. I don't know if I told you in real that song. My brother's like, you'll never get it. You'll never get it.
Yeah, you told us last week.
Yeah. So we're sitting in her. She had an apartment then. We're sitting in her apartment, and I'm thinking about. I said, I heard this song, and she said, "What song is that?" I said, "It's about Larry Graham." Who's that? She wasn't much into music. I said, you got to find it or something to that effect. You got to find it or something. Because you remember back then, we didn't have no cell phones. So I don't know how she imagined she listened to it. I don't know how she listened to it or something. So she said, "What's that supposed to mean?" I said, "Well, that's supposed to mean that's supposed to be for you. just be my lady, you know." I had to work and work and work on that girl. She wasn't budging, and I had my own place. So get this. So I go and leave, you know. So I go back to my apartment. The next thing I know, I got off of work. Here she rolls up my apartment. And she had a son then. She rolls up my apartment. She's like, I want you to stop over because we got to talk. I'm like, okay. So we're talking. And she's like, I don't think this 2 apartment thing is going to go. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, you can move in here with me. And I'm thinking, huh?
Ooh, time out. Let me throw this back. So there's been no talk of marriage.
No.
Or nothing like that. Okay, I just want to make clear that. But before
No,
I do
no.
one thing here, Chicago, what's going on, man? Welcome to the great
really?
Top of the top, man.
This man tell me, yo, man, give me about 5. I'll be right there. And he's out here cutting grass.
No, I look. Hey, I took your advice, right?
Yeah.
So I had to trim them edges. Because I had to, the pre-wound, what's the name for the weed trim? I had to buy some more anyway.
Yeah. So Rilla and I, we had a quick conversation. For anyone who did not know, I used to be married. Now, my wife and I got married. I think I was 33. She was 32. I want to say it was back in 2003. So I got married late, but I was also probably 13 or 14 years into my career in the military. Mm-hmm. So when we got married, like I said, she was grown. Obviously, I was grown-ish. Right. So, but again, at 33 and at 32, we were accustomed to doing our own things for the most part. Right. Now, we knew that we wanted to be with each other, but the problem is that we didn't know how to be with each other under the same roof.
Right.
So the main problem that we ran into also was that, and I don't try and put this out on her too much, but again, I married an only child, at least her father. Her father, she was the only child her father ever had. Right. And who knows what it's like when you marry the only child. Of course, she's a girl, and then she's good looking on top of that.
Yeah, that's double trouble there.
There you go, man. You're talking about the ex Mrs. Johnson. On a scale of 1 to 10, she was an 8, legitimate. I looked at myself as being a 6, but I knew how to talk a little bit of game back then. Right. And I was in
real laughing.
Yeah, I could talk a little bit of nonsense. But the thing here is that,
was she a red bone?
Oh no, yeah, she was white German. She was European. Yeah, like I said, I was in Germany. I grew up in Europe for the most part. So I'm one of the type of guys that if I can't find what I'm looking for over here at the on the base at the commissary, I'm going off on the economy.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm an equal opportunity talking to type of dude.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, man. Right. So, and it's funny enough, during this time frame when she and I were together, one of the things that we could not do or understand here is that sometimes you have to be able to cede ground. You can't always have your foot in the ground and not be willing to compromise somewhere along the way. So getting back to what Rilla was talking about with cutting the grass, I was telling him, hey, man, you know what? You got something going on. Make sure that you don't put yourself in a situation where you're 54 years old, hosting a podcast with some fellas there, you and a dog in the next room, right? And we laughed about that. So when I texted him a moment ago, oh man, where you at? Hey, had to cut the lawn and do some trimming. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He follows it. You will do well in this life in Jedi. you will do well in this life. That's all I'm gonna say, man. Yeah.
And look, I told you, we stay on the block. I went for a walk the other day, and so I was walking back north, and I was like, dang, they, you get to judging people, man, like their yards look like trash. But all the retired folk are on the south end of my block.
Right.
And they joint looking immaculate, man. I had to ask the old head when I was going to work this morning. I said, man, he was out there cutting his grass early this morning. I said, what? How you get your lawn like that, man? That joker had me out there for about 45 minutes.
First of all, you have to go with the weed puller. And once you go with the weed puller, you got to make sure you seed the lawn just right.
That joker said, hey, get started now. You said, your yard will look a lot different. He said, I'm seeing you coming in up out of there. I figured we meet when we meet. I said, yeah, dog, man. Shout out the old heads, man.
Yeah, you know what? And that's the thing. And I understand what you're saying because in the beginning, that's what I was doing out there. My neighbor would seed his yard, and I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing this stuff? I'm just gonna cut it, leave it alone, and then I use what I do now is I spray that weed killer, and I gotta watch out because you know how they say that stuff causes cancer and all that. And I'm like, hell, I don't have to worry now. I already got it. Might as well just keep spraying this shit.
See, here we go. Here we go. He's in a making job. He's in remission though. By the way, folks, shout out to TC. He's in remission, and that's why I'm glad for him to be here. And like Chicago and I have said, we're gonna take every bit of information we can from him while he's here with us.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Just Be My Lady. That was good. But see, the thing was, why pay 2 rents when you can just pay 1? But knowing me, all tied up in that red bone, my nose is so wide open. I'm like, well, I went out and moved all my stuff down there with her. And next thing you know, we end up, getting married. And that was back in 1987. 1987.
Oh, man, that was my 87. That was me going to my senior year of high school.
And like, she wasn't that much into music, but at that time, when my son was born in 90, that's when I started giving him everything. B.B. King, whoever was, I was giving it to my son early. And as he grew older, he really got into that. And then the main one was, I would always play B.B. King. That's what he would jump on the bed to and all that. He didn't know the words, but it was just the music that he got locked into.
Yeah, you hear it?
Yes.
Thrill is gone.
Yep. Yeah, that's another one,
Check it out, TC. So I've got another one for you here. We're going through TC's list, man. So just a quick recap. By the way, folks, if you didn't know here, Tiger Touch, this is one of my homeboys back from Germany. When I first came in the military, he and I met each other back in 1990 at Zweibrücken Air Force Base. Shout out Zweibrücken Air Force Base to all my peeps back there. So Touch and I have known each other since then. So before we got together here, guys, before we formed the council as is known here, I've been talking to Touch about coming up here and doing some spinning here. So hopefully when he gets better here, he's on the mend right about now. It's going to be the house DJ.
Nice.
Yeah. So by the time I get through, this is my little stand in. Yo, Teach. This is me trying to stand in right now. We know it doesn't compare, but this is the best thing. It does not compare. But nonetheless, this is something that I'm doing just to make sure that I keep the interest here, because one of the things I really see to get back to what you don't see a lot of in our age group, again, this is us talking about something from 45 and up. And understand, folks, if you're going to qualify to potentially be up here with the council, you've got to have some lived experience, age and exposure to help put down here when you have conversations here. And when we go through the topics, it's something that someone can reflect back on, not that it's something that they were doing, but to look at what was not available to them. That's the whole point of what we want to try and do here. So rolling back into it. So the first song that we reviewed here, The Dells, Oh What a Night. Number 2 was The Originals, Baby I'm Real. Number 3, Spinners, Love Don't Love Nobody. Number 4, James Ingram, I Don't Have the Heart. Number 5, Temptations, All I Need. Number 6, Larry Graham, Just Be My Lady. And here's his number 7. And, well, let me not talk about it. Let's get on with it. Easy Lover.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. Fair use. Fair use. Let's see if we can get this remastered version to come back up here.
If anybody don't know what that song's about, something wrong with him.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So let's see what we got going on here. There we go. Talk to him. Fair use, fair use. I love the way it comes in.
Yep.
Woo. 1984, people. I remember when this song premiered, as does everybody here on the council. That's right, we old. Oh, yeah. Don't be ashamed of Bobby Head, people. Council OG taking it back. The music had a message. Ah, all right.
Man.
Now, this is something we all three can get on, I can say. So
Man.
tell me about it here. TC, go ahead and hook it up here. I'll let you start it off first with what was going on this time with you.
I think at that time, I done got the message that don't mess with that girl because what do you mean? You know, ask a question. No, man, you don't want to fool with that because she ain't about all that. She's on a different type of time. And I knew I kind of figured what they meant is about the monetary thing, what you can do for me, but I'm just gonna do little for you. And when I heard that song, and I'm listening to the words, and I'm like, damn, these dudes knew what the hell they was talking about. Easy Lover. So now you fast forward to now to what we're dealing with now. That's all you got out there. That's all they are is Easy Lovers. Ooh. You know, you look at all these panels. Who do you think they are? Easy Lovers. And what do they say, Rilla? I'm looking for a guy that makes 100K, 6 foot, and all that crap. What she thinks she is? She's an easy lover. to me, she's an easy lover. That's why I said I gotta wake up here because you gotta protect them pockets, man.
But Taka, remember now he said, before you know it, you'll be on your knees.
Yes,
all right.
That's exactly right. So
what they on you.
Yeah, so what they would tell you is don't get involved with that because that's not good. So if you get involved with it, don't come crying. Don't come crying saying I didn't tell you, you know, what's going to happen.
Well, funny enough, guys, let me put this behind here. I wish I should have thought of this earlier, but you know what? Again, this won't be the first time that we do this segment. So I just want to let everybody know in replay, if you're live in the chat right now, this will not be the last time we'll pull up some songs and take a look at it here. So here's the deal here behind Easy Lover. Tells the story of a woman who manipulates men, reeling them in with her allure before leaving them heartbroken and quickly moving on to the next relationship. The song uses vivid imagery to describe the thrill and risk of falling for someone who was hard to control.
See what I mean? And what do we talk about? What are they talking about today, guys? Isn't it the same thing? But these guys did that music, right? Just what you read. They're sending a message before. This is what I mean. They don't do their homework. So if they listen to the song and read what John just put up there, what does that tell you right there? It's just crazy. So when you listen to it, now I was listening to it, I was like, man, a woman's like that could make you drop to your knees and all that. You know? So just stay away from her, you know. That's crazy.
And see, that's why I don't like when people say, oh, the men in that time, though, they were writing simp songs.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? You could count on one hand, right? And the only one I could really think of is the Babyface one. No, as soon as I get home from work.
Right.
Right. Other than that, you had real cats. You know what I'm saying? Singing about real issues with a lady, you know? And especially a lot of them cats from the 70s, man, they look like they worked at a steel mill or factory and beat the brakes off you. You hear them crying about that woman, you know what I'm saying? But say something slick to their face and beat the brakes off you, you know? Yeah, that was a real time, man. And mind you, that opening drum, that's Phil Collins on the drums, man.
Yes.
Genesis. Phil Collins.
Genesis,
Now, when I think about 1984, so again, that right there,
I was in fourth grade.
I was in 84 words. I think I was probably in the 8th or 9th grade, and I was in band, right? So I played marching band as well. So I played snare, but I also played bass. I started from bass and moved up to snare. And I remember at this point in time, I was playing bass drum for this cut. But I remember also watching video for that. And I never really caught the meaning of the song because I was 14 at the time. But I do remember here is that just listening to it, like you said, the drums and coming into it because I was into percussion. that was the one hook that I liked about that. So to me, the whole concept of what the song was about never really meant anything to me. But it was just about the music and also the time frame. But then when you go back, when you get older and you look at what it was about, it's about, hey, this girl will string you out. You get your nose too wide open.
Yep.
But what is the one thing that we always talk about is that as young men, you're never really ready to start dating until you've been stomped once or twice. It's not that we say this to be funny, but it's a learning experience.
Yeah, it is.
I remember at one point in time, when I was about 25 or 26, this is when I was stationed in the United Kingdom. Never forget it. English guy, name was Bev. She was a single mom that hung out a group of girls that used to come to the base and go to the club every now and then that me and my friends happen to know. Never got a chance to move with her or anything like that, to get with her, but we had conversations. And I remember being that young cat. I was about 25, 26, talking this noise. Yeah, I want to make sure, my girl's got to have a good job. She needs to have a good education, have everything going on about herself. And then she looked at me like this and said, so how much of that do you have? Yeah. Oh, touche. Touche. No, and it made me think about that because of all the things that I expected to come my way, but I wasn't looking at putting anything down at that point in time. So you're talking about, this is again 95, 96. You're talking about that bad boy era, where music, just every time you look around, there's a new artist. But I'll get to my stuff here in a second. But that's what I think about when I hear that particular song. And again, the environment for me in 84, I was in Florida. Now stepping back, this is back in 84. I was living in Florida. My folks were stationed at Patrick Air Force Base, and we lived at I think it was not Vero Beach, Satellite Beach, Satellite Beach, Florida. And we could see the space shuttle take off from where we were at night. Matter of fact, I was in school when the space shuttle Challenger exploded in 86.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, we could walk out of our classroom and look directly up, and you could see it going up. It was something to see the shuttle take off at night. But again, back in this point in time frame, 1984, beach life, summertime, and when this song came out, that was a jam. Rilla, do you have anything you wanted to add to that, man?
Nah, for me, 84 was now Phil Collins was the man. Obviously, Phil Bailey from Earth, Wind and Fire. That was an unlikely pairing.
Yeah, right? It was.
But 84 was the year Michael Jackson and Prince got dogged. That's all I remember from 84. I was in like fourth grade. Yeah.
And you gotta remember this, Rilla. There wasn't too many like interracial. You didn't see a lot of that stuff. You know what I mean?
And MTV was just getting their bearings,
Yes. Yeah. And you get these two together, and I'm like, man, listen to these two together. And it was like, God damn, these dudes are doing it. These dudes are putting it down.
Remember, a lot of cats over in the UK, were a lot more open because they were on our style heavy.
Yes.
Rolling Stones, Duran. Yeah. David Bowie. Hey, I didn't see this interview till I got grown, but that interview that David Bowie did, and he was talking about how they wouldn't play Michael Jackson video.
I saw that interview, man. I saw that interview.
That's
it was on the heavy, so yeah.
Then you had
That was good, Don. She's talking about white fatigue.
Man.
I remember this. All I remember is when he said something about, and I ain't going back, the thrill is gone. All I remember this. Eric Clapton says, all I want to do is play with B.B. King before he dies. And they made it happen. That's all he wanted to do.
Dang, not OG bring us something else, right? Here's the thing. Them people, there's a clip when I believe this is when Prince got inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And they was playing My Guitar Gently Weeps.
Yes.
And those jokers couldn't do nothing but stand in awe of him. These people honor, revere, and respect that talent, man. They respect that craft, all of that. We're the ones that don't.
I was just telling John that how Eric Clapton plays. There's something the way he plays that guitar, man, that just says, you know what?
He can put in them 10,000 hours.
Man, Rilla.
You know?
I mean, and the thing is, like I said, to hear him just come out with that says the only one I want to play with.
Yeah.
I want to play with BB King. And that would make me Tears in Heaven. Mm-hmm.
But we don't, but that's what I'm saying. Like these shorties, if you say something about a BB King or Eric Clapton, it's like who?
Yes.
What? You know, and so this is why this is important.
About, man.
Right. Again, that's why this is important. That's why, you know, again, a movie like Sinners is important, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. John, I didn't tell you this, but young lady came to the shop and changed my goddamn playlist after she went and saw the movie.
Wow.
Young lady, don't look like us either.
Wow.
Skin like this.
Wow.
Came and changed the playlist in my shop to a blues playlist.
Wow.
Because she had went saw and excited to come tell me about how she saw the movie for the second time or third time. Second time.
Mm-hmm.
She said, I just can't get it out of my head. That music made me feel something. I bet it did. They get it.
Yes.
They get it.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? It's us because we're so quick to throw everything away. We throw our elders away. We throw, you know, our creations away.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't say that to downplay anybody. I just wish, you know, number one, the OGs would do a better job of passing the culture down. And I wish these shorties would embrace it more and understand. That Miles Catton dude that was in Sinners, man, that young blood is powerful. His voice, crazy. Perfect for the blues.
And that's the thing, you know, rest in peace, my mother, because she really got me into that stuff. And I don't know what songs he played by BB King. I'm like, who the hell is this? Let me tell you something. When I met that guy, I told my mother I'll never wash my hand again. And I said, that's what I told her. When he shook my hand, I said, I'll never wash this hand again. I was just so elated. And he gave me a guitar pick. And on that guitar pick, it had BB King and Lucille. And I don't know whatever happened to that guitar pick. But after that, I was hooked. I bought every album. I listened to every song, you know. And when people would ask me about Lucille, and they say, you remember? I said, hell, I ain't going to forget how Lucille got her name, you know. But they got to understand, there was many Lucilles. He had many of them, and they were all Lucilles. There was more than one guitar, you know. But he inspired my life in many ways. He did. And so a lot of other artists, you know. But my son he's got that in his DNA. That will never, ever leave him. What I'd given him as he was growing up. And he always sends me something. Hey, Dad, did you hear this? You know, I'm like, where are you getting all this stuff from? He's searching for stuff, you know. So I said, I'm gonna give you this link whenever you get free from work, and if you want to get in the chat and all that, you know, because he's. I'm not saying he's shy. I don't think he just. These young dudes are into something else, man. They ain't, you know. But he learned and he listened. And that's what paved the way for him to want to go to music school, and that's why I'm broke today, you know. And I'm happy about it. And I tell everybody that, and I tell them that, and I mean that to my heart. I don't care. I could be broke, but as long as I did for my son, how he made me proud as a father, I didn't mind spending my money. That's what it's all about, you know.
The music is one of the things that I think, when going back to what Rilla was saying about how things get thrown away or put to the side.
Yes.
If you have never been there to listen to it, or like we talked about, the N-word is not a term of endearment. But if you weren't there to actually see what the music was coming from, where someone was digging into themselves, but actually, you know, coming from the point where they had to reach in themselves and find a moment to where they can get someone else to understand what they're talking about. I saw a conversation the other day. It may have been yesterday, but one thing I'll say this right now is that if you have never had a heartbreak, then you cannot understand what it's like trying to counsel someone about having one. Yes. If you have not had the same experience. I recall there was a video where they were talking about Marvin Gaye making What's Going On.
Yeah.
I remember he laid across the sofa, he was singing, and it was just effortless. Although he's talking about the turmoil, what's going on in the world and his life, but he's just sitting there just chilling and singing, and it's no effort, but he is talking about some heavy stuff.
Yes.
And hence why. So what I'll do here is that I think we've cleaned everything out on your list here, OG. I'll go ahead and let me throw some stuff up here. And again, I didn't get anything back from you, Chicago, but if you want, man, let us know if there's something that comes to your mind, and we'll go ahead and put it up and talk about it. But in the meantime, this is what I put together, fellas. Now I had enough time to edit this, but had I got your stuff in time, TC, I would have done the same thing. So
no, don't edit it because I had one I wanted to put on there, but I didn't want to do it because it's too emotional. It's by Journey, and it's called After All These Years. And it talks about being married and going through marriage and all that. I'm like, no, I ain't doing that because that gets me choked up. I'm like, hell, hell to the no. Can't do that.
We'll find us another one next time. So in the meantime, folks, I'll turn this down. Let me know here. But I've got about 10 songs here. And they're about 14 seconds a piece for these clips. But again, this is probably in the era where we can all speak about this and we're familiar with it. So tell me what you think. Fair use, fair use.
I met this girl when I was 10 years old. And what I love most, she had so much soul. She was old school when I was just a shorty, never knew. Throughout my life, she would be there for me on the regular. Not a church girl, she was secular. Not a...
Woo! Can anybody hear that?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So I can remember when this cut came out, it was probably 94. Oh, my bad. Alicia missed that. Steve Perry's the man. Yep. It was 94. Oh, yes, sir. Comment. I was 24 years old. I was stationed at RAF Lakenheath. So I had partners in the dorm. Some of them were DJs. Some of them were just in the hip hop, whatnot. But we had a circuit that we used to run. Shout out to my boys back in the day there. CL Fairley. What's going on with you? Archie Dude. Shout out to you, boy. What we had was a system of music. All right. You had music that everybody was into. And there was always somebody with some type of cassette tape or something that was going on that we were sharing, or somebody was DJing and making tapes for you in the dorm, right? And one of the biggest things that used to kill me is how they would come up with some of this underground. And Common used to be underground for the most part until I really heard it, because when you're overseas, you don't really catch stuff right away, because back in the 80s or even the 90s, you were like maybe 4 to 6 months behind whatever was being released in the States. Mm-hmm. So the meaning behind I used to love it. So what I did was every song that I've got up here, I made sure that I grabbed the reasoning behind what made that song what it was. All right, so check this out. A powerful allegory about the evolution and commercialization of hip hop culture, presented as a love story gone sour. The song personifies hip hop as a woman, her, who was once cherished but became corrupted by mainstream influence. Holla at me, Rilla, what you got to say?
Yeah, it's funny because the way the rest of the world embraced that song and heard it was different how we heard it in Chicago. So you had Twista and you had Common, right? And Twista came out, I think he was like the Funky Tongue Twista or something like that. And it was not well received. So Twista got
was speed rapping like E40?
Yeah, but he got ridiculed and mocked because nobody in Chicago kind of rapped like that. Like we had Rap and Tape the Great who kind of mimicked him, and then we had Black AG. And these are all like local artists, right? So when Common came out at first, like he had got, recognized in the source, and then Can I Borrow a Dollar, he sounded a lot like DOS Effects. But we didn't know. Like for me as a shorty, I thought it was dope, but a lot of cats thought, he sounded like DOS Effects. This album, Resurrection, when he comes out with that, it's more Chicago because he leaned, like whereas Tribe Called Quest leaned into jazz, this album leaned into blues. And this reminds us of like our granddads and whatnot. So when he first dropped this, you're thinking the whole time he's talking about a female. So this is like, you're looking like, okay, this is his version of I Need Love. But when he gets to the end, because who I'm talking about, y'all, is hip hop.
Hip hop. Boom.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Out of there.
Boom.
Out of there.
All right, rolling through. So we'll finish this up and we'll get into the next one.
About the money.
Vision, dreams of passion.
Fair use, fair use.
All the while,
I didn't come to play tonight, gentlemen.
a very strange reaction.
Fair use. So this cut came out. It was like what 84, 85, 80.
Might have been earlier than that.
I want to say it was 82, 83, right about the time of the message. Yeah, it may have been about the same time the message came out. So this is when on base. Now again, I was living on base with my father at the time, my mother and father. But I think we'd come home in 82. My father had gone to Korea for a 1-year remote assignment. So this is where I'm coming back from Minot, North Dakota. I think I mentioned this to TC. I've been up there since 78. So I'm all about Hall & Oates, Journey, Styx, Charlie Daniels band. Kiss. I'm ruined for the time being. But that was classic music. But I also had Leonard Skinner. You also had Earth, Wind and Fire. You still had Smokey Robinson. I think Cruising had come out about that time frame back in the late 70s. So all that music had a reflection. But then when we got back home to where we were from, and I got around us, I mean, really around my peoples. I mean, when you're in the military installation, there's everybody, white, black, Asian, Hispanic. But when we got home and we were living around kids who were black also, the music was a change. And they were always talking about this song in White Lines. Now, to me, when I heard of White Lines, I'm thinking like chalk on the chalkboard. I didn't realize that they were talking about cocaine at the time because on base, you had people who would dress up as McGruff the crime dog because we had this thing of, hey, take a bite out of crime. All right. So therefore, drugs were something that were not really registering to me at that point in time. Right. So the message to me, when I had people explaining it to me, was that, hey, they're talking about, ingesting chemicals that changes your behavior, gets you out of pocket and not acting yourself. But this was probably the first time where I understood that drugs were out there. I didn't know that there was a problem just yet. Now, this is before I knew about the war on crime, the war on drugs, whatever that Reagan was pushing at the time.
Right.
So this is before I really understood that, because as a child, hearing this, all I knew was that, hey, these guys are talking about white lines. I don't know what it is. I didn't really like the song that much, but the message came with it later. Topcat, before we go to Rilla, what does this bring back to you in this time frame?
See, I never really this. You guys got me because I was never really into like Grandmaster Flash and all that. I really didn't really being an old OG. When hip hop come out, I was already locked in to my music thought process. In other words, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I didn't want to change over. It's like I didn't want to move off of what I was listening to. You know what I'm saying? And at that time, my son was a youngster then, so I was pretty much locked in on Raising the Sun, and I really didn't have a lot of that music played in the house. You know what I mean? Okay. So if I heard anything like that, it had to be like out and about, and somebody would play it. Say like be on the jukebox, so I'm not hear it, but it wouldn't resonate with me because I guess I wasn't just on that type of time. You know what I'm saying? Right. And I would get kind of pissed off, like, man, what the hell are they playing that shit for?
Man, you're right.
That's real.
Yeah, but you got to be respectful. It's like I would say that to myself. And then, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna play what I want to play, But no, I mean, I can imagine how it was for you guys in that time like that. But like I said, being I was married then and locked in on, Raising the Sun, it's kind of like stepping outside your circle. Yeah, and I was like, no, I'm going to stay here where I'm at because I start moving off of that. And I got a young son, and he's going to hear all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm going to. So, yeah, that's the way it was.
All right, that makes sense.
I don't think my brothers really got it. Maybe my youngest brother did. he probably got into that. But I don't know the other one. They were too busy, you know, Steely Dan and all that crazy shit, Charlie Davis, all that. I was like, I was flipping the script when they were talking about Charlie Dan. Like, what the hell you listening to that crap for? And that's, you know, it kind of blew my mind. Maybe because the dude was white, and I'm like, what the hell you listening to? Then comes Steely Dan and all that shit. And that's when I started to get into like Steely Dan and all that stuff, you know. And that's the kind of music that we pretty much stayed with. It wasn't like it was the hip hop. It was about the group that you hung around with, and the group you hung around with played a certain type of music, you know.
Let me put this in here there, TC, since you talk about certain type of music. What I forgot to mention here, for Grandmaster Fast and Furious 5. Now, here's the message, all right? Again, for folks who are just joining, find somebody who knows somebody, tell somebody about what we've got going on. If you like it, let us know. Share it if you do. Subscribe. This is what you're looking for. Tonight's topic, when music had a message. The message behind this one, originally intended as an anti-drug anthem, specifically about cocaine. It was also released with lyrics that suggested a cautionary tale about drug use and addiction. This song's lyrics detail the dangers of drug addiction, the consequences of drug dealing, and the struggles of those involved in the drug trade. Rilla, what you got for this?
Yeah, so this was again, 1983. So this would have been third grade, right? So for me, this is when breaking, I'm seeing breaking for the first time on the west side at my Aunt Doll and them house with Junebug and them, where they breaking out the cardboard, putting it in the middle of the street. That bass line, that beat was a b-boy anthem. Cats would go crazy to that, right? So and again, this is the importance of the message in the music, or putting the medicine inside candy, because you're bobbing. And to me, when I was a shorty, when I first heard it, I thought they were saying white lies. I didn't know they were saying white lines. It wasn't until I became of understanding, like maybe 87, 88, 89, when I was older, that I understood what the song was about. And even then, though, planting those seeds early, you know, get higher, baby. Get higher, baby. Get higher, baby. Don't ever come down. You know, that stuff stuck with. So when you become of understanding, you're like, oh, and the light bulb goes, oh, that's what they were saying. But that joint used to ring off at the skate parties, especially at the, man, when breaking got big, shoot, out of there.
Now you said that was what, 83, right?
83, yep.
Okay, then that's the year that song "The White Horse" come out. Remember that?
If you want to ride, yep.
Yes.
Yep. Ride the white horse. Yeah.
And you know what they're talking about, right?
Oh, yeah. I know now that I'm older.
Yeah, but hey, you know what, guys? It ties
My
in.
bad, I was on mute.
It ties into just what you guys were saying about the drug thing. This is saying the same thing.
Yep.
It's saying the same thing. If you want to ride the right horse, they talk about the white pony and all that.
Yeah, see, coming out of the 70s, though, that was a big deal. You had, like, you know, especially on the East Coast, the Studio 54, all those discotheques. Yeah, you know, that was a designer drug. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't frowned upon like it would, you know, turn you out like that. But then, so
like it was a party drug.
Right. So, but now I'm wondering, because they're talking about freebase in that. So when did freebase, you know, come out? They're talking about,
or not like the crack epidemic, when they talk about freebase, and that's when I started remembering. Here it is, damn, in your face, guys.
Yeah, that's PE. That's like 87, 88. But even in that, and I'm gonna go back and listen to it real quick, because I know I hear Melly Mel now. Get high, baby. Don't never come down. Freebase.
Yep. Freebase, that was part of the cut.
Yeah.
And also, you mentioned breakdancing. I just wanted to get this in here for you real fast.
Oh, flash dance.
Let me know if you remember this.
Yeah. Rock steady.
Oh yeah.
Now. Yep.
1983.
Yep. Yep.
People riding around with cardboard and bicycle. Yo, man, you want to battle?
And your boombox, you had to have your boombox.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's not Wiggles. That's not Ken Swift either.
I'm more familiar with the New York City Breakers than I am with Rocksteady, but I do
That's
recognize Crazy Legs.
yeah.
Yeah, that was Crazy Legs, I think.
Uh-huh.
No, I'm sorry, that's Crazy Legs. My bad. Because he did his
With the
windmill
hat.
right. Yeah.
Frosty Freeze. That's Frosty Freeze right there. Now think about the creativity and the ingenuity to put stuff like that together. You know?
Yes, sir.
Wow. That's something.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. Tell me what you think.
The more I see,
I did not come to play. Ask me if I'm serious. I quit school because of recess.
Oh man.
Woo! Man,
Fear
Black Planet, son.
Yo, top shot. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna tell you right now. This is why they had to shut rap music down. This is why they had to put the gangster in there. This is why they had to put all the foolishness and the tomfoolery in there. This, if you go and look at that Fight the Power video for Do the Right Thing,
Yep.
and Spike Lee has a really cool story. It's either Chuck D or Spike Lee. One of them have a really cool story about how Spike Lee influenced that song. They had a couple of versions of this song that Spike Lee did not like. So they kept going back, and this is what they landed with. But this had us, because you got to remember, around this time, if I'm not mistaken, this is around a lot
89.
of angst. Okay, so this is before Rodney King then.
Yes, this is before Rodney King. I want to say it's like 91.
Yeah.
It's like 91 or 92. This was 1989. I remember when it premiered on Yo MTV Raps over the weekend.
Funky drama. Yep. There was a lot of angst with black people, and not just like racial tension, but it was just like black pride. Like, you know what I'm saying? Public Enemy and again, like the Rakims, the BDPs of the world, they were driving that. And the messages that Chuck D was putting in the raps, man. And you talking about Fight the Power and like the Most of My Heroes Never Appeared on No Stamp. And then Flavor Flav with the mother him and John Wayne. Like we was like, yo, what? Like, did he say and John Wayne is like America's hero?
Him and John Wayne. Yeah.
Yo.
When that line came out, now remember, I forgot about their first CD.
Yo, Bum Rush the Show.
Woo, and the one from Bum Rush the Show was, "Hey, get up, get down. My Uzi weighs a ton."
Yeah.
Now, I remember that because my father was a security police commander. He's in charge of all the cops on the installation. All right, so you got roughly about maybe anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 people or more, depending upon the size of the installation. And his cops, I used to hang out with these guys. Shout out, my boys, Cornelius Jackson, Cornelius Johnson, rest in peace. Malcolm Rogers, he was up here a couple of weeks ago doing the show with me. I'm just listening to these cuts. I remember them walking around the dorm, man, the police. I'm like, wait, aren't you the police? Yeah, man, but I'm off right now. But one of the things now, the message behind this, going back to what Rilla was saying, Public Enemies, Fight the Power, a call to action, urging young audiences to resist racial discrimination and economic inequality. But the other thing that threw people off here is that when you hear the word nationalism, you think of it how it's used right now when you hear white nationalism. But when you heard black nationalism, what was intended was, again, only talking about, now if we weren't talking about at the time the Nation of Islam, really when before Malcolm went to Mecca, about his shame. But see, everyone thinks of that version of Malcolm X. What they seem to forget is that he went to Mecca and had the chance to see that when he met other Muslims outside of his 16 area block or whatnot, he saw that there were people who worship Islam with blonde hair, blue eyes, brown skin, brown eyes, and dark skin and brown eyes. And the whole thing was that color was gone. It was just people with the same belief at the same time. So
Mhm.
when Chuck D and these guys came out talking about fight the power, they weren't
Mhm.
talking about let's run up in here and storm the Capitol building, break stuff down, and shit on the floors or anything like that. We're talking about getting away from the inequality, doing your part to be a part of it to make sure that you get your fair shake. And
Mhm.
that was the one thing that was confusing or got confused. That was the message that came through that. And if you can't see there on the bottom, they've got that parental advisory sticker.
Mhm.
Well, you can't
Mhm.
really see that, but we can thank Uncle Luke for that.
Mhm.
A lot of that we can thank Uncle Luke for. But again, the message here was all about, for the most part, resist racial discrimination and economic inequality, and look for it to come.
And you know what? Just to piggyback off what you said, you remember the Ozzy Brothers made that song, "Fight the Power"? Listen to this.
Fight it,
The
fight the
song.
power.
Yeah, remember the song encourages listeners to take a stand to fight for their rights and beliefs, even when facing difficulties. So they had to piggyback off something like this. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying?
Yes, they did.
See, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Chuck D got the title and the inspiration from Ozzy Brothers. He talks about that too. Yeah.
yes. So you see how everything ties in, that people don't understand what we're talking about. That it all ties in on how this song relates to what we're dealing with at that time, and what people were going through. They never research the stuff like we do and say, well, what was the song about? All they know is bumping their head to the music, but there has to be a meaning.
Look at the flick of the wrist. Look at the flick of my wrist. Or was that loud?
But at that time, though, also, and you had like, because I don't want to over glorify that era, right? Like for me, golden era of hip hop is 88 to 92, 90. Some people say 94. Cool.
Mhm.
You had foolishness going on, right?
Oh, yeah.
Same way you had foolishness in the 70s going on.
Yep.
However, the consciousness of the people, man.
Yes.
This song, this had a lot of it was a lot of angry young black men in them streets, fam. By the
Yep.
time you get to the LA riots, by the time like that sent it over the edge, right?
I was there for that.
Yeah, that Rodney King, and then what was Reginald Denny?
Reginald Denny, that was another one. But they pulled him out of the
Pulled him
truck.
out the truck.
And
Yeah,
they beat him.
it was big payback.
There was no need to beat this. He had nothing. He was minding his business.
Absolutely,
Jerked him
absolutely.
out, and they beat the shit out of this guy.
Now listen, and as OGs today, we could denounce that, right? Like we could say
Exactly.
that was out of pocket. That was absolutely wrong.
Uncalled.
As a shorty in that time, it's the same thing with OJ, right? Listen, black, we know, you know what I'm saying? We know, but after taking so many L's in the media, time after time after time, in the court system, people were happy to see something. You understand what I'm saying? I'm talking about black people in particular.
Right.
Were happy to see something. And again, in retrospect, obviously that was wrong. And that should have been denounced then, right? I think Ice Cube has a bar about Reginald Denny getting hit with that brick. Like that was terrible because that man was leaking. You understand what I'm saying? But again, Public Enemy and groups like Public Enemy, and there was more of them coming. You know what I'm saying? Especially with the X-Clans of the world, especially with the proliferation of the 5% infiltration of rap music, Brand Nubian. Then you think about Do the Right Thing, not Do the Right Thing, School Days. You were talking about they were talking about divested from apartheid, right? Yo, people, we were flexing political muscle, and people in political institutions were having to bend and acquiesce. Can't have that going on, man. What are y'all doing with this rap music that's feeding these kids this message where they going out and they because you ain't talking peaceful protest.
Nope.
You have in Public Enemy, you literally had Malcolm X, Huey P. Newton, on Fred Hampton. You had that on 10. They couldn't have that going around. You
Yeah.
just could not have that going around. I'm on mute.
Or talking about, oh wait, we need to do something about this music out here. How it's affecting our children.
Yes.
Yeah, they got involved. So hey, Public Enemy, shout out. Let's get it going. What about it, Rilla? What about it? That's it, Red the Skull, boy.
Man, rest in peace,
Fair
Dilla,
use.
man. You know the stakes is high.
Woo, check this out. So, where was I? So when this cut came out, man, I had missed some of this because I was overseas at the time. But when I finally caught up and went back, and I thought, man, how much music did I miss while I was over there the first time? So I was checking this out. So the stakes is high. So what was the meaning behind this? Primarily reflects their concerns about the state of hip hop. We just talked about really the state of hip hop, both as a musical genre and as a culture. The album critiques the commercialization, sexualization, and perceived decline of hip hop while also acknowledging the changing dynamics within the music industry. What you got, Rilla?
Man, that summation summed it up, and I certainly don't want to hog the mic with my commentary, but I could go. Listen, this hits. Rest in peace, Dilla. Incredible beat, incredible beat, and I think he lifts this from Ahmad Jamal. I think it's from Ahmad Jamal, but again, this is the essence of sampling that has you digging to try and see where they got that from. Then you go back and listen to the originals, like, oh, the original's dope, right? So now you get exposed to a whole nother artist and a whole genre. The messaging in this music, that's exactly what I would have said. It was, De La was always critiquing the culture. Again, this group showed up as Me, Myself, and I. Before I heard Me, Myself, and I heard Potholes in My Lawn. You know what I'm saying? So this De La has always presented as a group that ride for the outcasts, the overlooked, the those on the outskirts of the in crowd, right? And so this song, when you think about at that time, because Dave, True Boy, the Dove, he talks about like, I'm tired of this is shaking their ass. I'm tired of blunts. I'm tired of it. And it was also talking about like just being tired of the dumbing down of rap. Again, I talk about when I was growing up. Listen, man, if you talked about you wanted to be an MC, you had to have one of these, G.
Yes.
You had to have one of these.
Yo,
you couldn't scribble nonsense in there. You had to have, I don't have it over here, but you had to have a dictionary, a thesaurus. You had to read books. You had to know some things. You can't be running around just quoting movies all day. You know how we had these conversations, people be quoting movies all day? No. You got to be quoting, cite your source. In your verse.
Got the phone up, and going down reading your bars on the phone. But now all of a sudden you have Biggie or Jay-Z walk in, just sit there, and then and go for like 5 or 10 minutes.
Hey, listen, that's cute. You know what I'm saying? And it's cool for them. But even some of our greatest poets, when you think about a Gwendolyn Brooks, a Nikki Giovanni, a Miri Baraka, they wrote Langston Hughes, James Baldwin. They had pad to pen. There's nothing, again, people that say they don't write and think there's some, something to say about that. Go examine those bars now. They don't hold up over time. They really don't. And, in Jay-Z case, that makes sense. And some of these other cats that say, I don't write, it shows. You know what I'm saying? But this stakes is high. Is exactly that. And you know what's crazy? This you could play this song today. It still goes. It still goes. The stakes is high today. Which is, I'm glad Kendrick made that song Time to Watch the Party Die or whatever, Party Must Die or something like that. And I think with people that are paying attention, we're seeing that. We're seeing that. The era of mumble rap and not saying nothing, that's coming to a close, G. We're entering a new era.
It was like listening to when Eric B and Rakim first came out, that first cut, Eric B for president. But man, when I Know You Got Soul came out, ooh, man, when that hit, I remember because the GIs would get together in their dorms. I'm going back to RAF Bentwaters, all right? I got there in August of 86 with my folks. We left in July of 89. But when you had parties, I remember dudes like shout out Wayne Pete. This is one of those dorm DJs, right? If you went to a college, think of the kids in the dorms having parties or playing their music from the windows. You got the DJ up in the window and you got the speakers downstairs and you got folks by the grills and stuff like this. This is how we did it at Aria Bentwater. Shout out Cripple Creek. And I remember watching these guys as you go up in the room. He's by the window, he's cutting, spinning, doing everything. Everyone's downstairs dancing, running over to the comments or whatever, getting meat, putting it back on the grill, and then it's on to the next hour, just running through stuff, just cutting it up, right? And the music always had a message when you speak to it. There was always something that you took away when you listened to it. And when you said something about the mumble rap, to me, the whole issue of rap seemed like the golden era from 80, I want to say 87, because that's when EPMD dropped You Gotta Chill. It was like 87, 88, that first one. And when it came in, don't, and you're listening to it and like, well, wait a minute, this sounds like a different song from somebody else. And then Eric Sermon shows up and he goes into his bars, right? And then you hear Jungle Boogie, and it's like, yo, what is this? What is this? And then right after that, I shit you not, Stetsasonic came up talking all that jazz. And oh man, I mean, it's just the sampling, the whole era of the sample from 87 up to like 94, maybe 95, which I'll agree with you, Rilla. That's when the music started changing. But again, the message used to be there. Now, check this out. I'm going to go into something that's a little away from hip hop right now, but tell me about this message here, if you remember this. Tell me about that, son, about the message.
Top Cat, was you on Prince? Was you on Prince then?
Nah, not really. Till he come out with that Purple Rain.
Oh, you was on that Purple Rain, huh? Yeah, you just wanted to see Apollonia. That's what that was, OG.
Yeah, you want to see her in the lake get washed out.
Yeah, purify herself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka. That's what that was. OG.
When Prince dropped this, I remember I was again back in England. It was a Saturday, and I was watching this in one of the UK video shows they had. There was a whole bunch of them back then. But I remember the version that I saw was where you could hear Prince in the background, but it was showing the words talking about a man who died of a big disease with a little name. Then it talked about the Space Shuttle Challenger blowing up. And again, I was there for that. But then it also talked about the drugs as well. So I remember looking at that and thinking that particular point of time, being away from America, being in another country, you were aware of it, right? You were aware of it, but you weren't really getting the motion of it. Now, when the space shuttle blew up and I was there, I watched that as I'm sitting there looking at you guys. I sat there and watched that thing go up in smoke. It was almost a feeling of shock that even when you think about it right now, it still hits you right in your chest.
Oh, yeah.
So when Prince was sitting there singing this song, and I thought about the meaning of it, so of course I looked it up like everything else, and here's what Prince had to say. And it's a real short deal, though. Commentary on the harsh realities of the time, encompassing issues like AIDS, poverty, drug abuse, and here's the one that was growing, gang violence. Now, thinking about the time, remember when Colors first came out, they had to let it back out again. I want to say it came out first in 85, but they redistributed it maybe a few years later. But everything that Prince was talking about was a culmination of that. And that's what I think about the sign of the times, whereas his message was, look at what's happening around us. We got AIDS, we got gang violence, we've got drug use. All this is a sign of what's to come. Where did it come from? Where are we going? He wasn't trying to give an answer for it, but he was doing what needed to be done, which was, hey, let me shine a light on it.
Right.
That's my thoughts about it. Anybody else got something before we move on to the next one?
Yeah, nothing too heavy. But again, this is right in line with what Nina Simone said, right? The duty, an artist's duty is to reflect the times.
Yes.
So this is when you have an artist literally saying, and I love that too, right, John? Like, I'm not giving you any answers. I'm literally reporting what's taking place right now.
Mm-hmm.
No cautionary tales, no nothing. This is what's happening.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's some deep stuff.
Rest in peace to Prince, man.
Yeah.
We're gonna take it back in this next one.
Mm.
Oh yeah. I remember that song.
Yo, so when this cut came, I remember watching it in 82.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about 82, 83. I think the cut came out in 82, but then it was on the album when the album came out in 83 or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rilla, but I know it's in that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember people talking about this, especially my parents and their friends, about we can't get these kids to go to school and even remember a simple line in a play or something like that. But they knew all the lines.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the longest at the time, one of the longest rap songs out there. The lines just flowing. And there were kids I knew who knew every word to this, but when they got in class, could not pass a damn English test.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't spell, but they knew every last word to this, right? So the meaning behind this one, groundbreaking hip hop song that served as a powerful social commentary on the struggles and realities of life in a struggling inner city neighborhood. It addressed themes like poverty, unemployment, crime, and the psychological toll of these issues. The song depicted the challenges faced by individuals trying to navigate a difficult environment and the lack of opportunities available to them. So we know there was more to go with that. But however, just from the presentation of the video, if some of you can remember that, these guys were actually, singing from the area where they were from. So the authenticity was there. Hey, let me tell you about this. Yeah, I may be doing good for myself right now, but look behind me, look at everyone else. Just because you got it good doesn't mean you forget everybody else who does not. So I'll put it right there. What you got there, Rilla?
Man, so I'm thinking of somebody in particular that talked about, with rap is just party records, or all they talked about is party. No, no. All these groups, even Busy B, Kool Mo D, Run DMC, all these groups, Cold Crush, Grandmaster Caz, all of these
Schoolie
groups
got
had messages in the music. I never been to the Bronx. I listen to this song. I know exactly what's going on in the Bronx. Guess what? I can relate to it because when he says broken glass everywhere, you got people pissing on the stairs. They just don't care. That was the same thing that was going on in Cabrini Green, in Robert Taylor's, in the Ida B. Wells, in the Ickies, in the project buildings. It was the exact same thing, right? This song spread like wildfire to so many of us because it was our condition. It was our condition. Now here's somebody put into music and it sounds dope than a mug. That's why people, didn't think, the higher ups, the people that would try and monetize rap, and they did later on and made, multi-millions off of it. They didn't think it was, this is around the era that people thought rap was a fad. They thought it was the second coming of disco, and because they had been effective with
disco
demo and disco, because it was, at that time it was still like discotheque. It wasn't like the genre as much as it was. The clubs were called discotheques, so it'd be disco da da da. So they thought this was the second coming of disco because they would use the same beats and what you call it, like looping it and rhyme over it. Like they were looping the beats and rhyming over like disco beats.
Oh yeah, mixing it together.
Yeah, but it was like who was the first one to do it? Grandmaster Flash, when he would, that's when you get the two turntables on the mixes and bringing it back. They looping that track so they keep rhyming over it. You know what I'm saying?
I remember Billie Jean. The first time I heard anyone mix anything together, it was It was Steely Dan. Jack Sprat, do it again.
Mm.
Oh yeah,
Billy
yeah.
is not my love. That was the first thing. Yeah,
Oh.
that was the very first time I ever heard a mix before.
Mm.
Those
Mhm.
two songs playing at the same time.
Yeah, I'm at a deficit because here in Chicago, the first thing I can remember is house music. So,
Oh, talk about Adonis and all that, right?
Now you know what
man, I got a story on that dude, man. But yeah,
you know what I told
um,
them. You know what I told them brothers.
mm,
I said, y'all got AI now. Back
mm,
then, they didn't have that stuff with these album covers. They had to
mm,
draw all that stuff. They didn't have no AI then. They had to do that stuff by hand.
yeah,
And then if you look at all the album covers, Rilla and John,
mm,
from the time till now,
mm,
they did that with all them computers and stuff.
mm-hmm.
You know, computers didn't really get serious until later on after all that. But look at the drawings on it. That's what I tried to
It was some
get
real
these.
live art direction.
That's
Yeah,
what I try to get these guys to realize today. And they're talking about all AI's and shit. I said, what did they do before AI?
yeah.
I guess people was dumb then too, right?
Hey, listen, some of my favorite album covers come from the Ohio Players. I ain't gonna hold you.
I'm
Oh,
telling
yeah.
you.
Ah,
But ain't it
Hey, if you know, you know.
but
right?
ain't it something though, brothers, just to see that how far we come from then till now. And then we lived through all them eras to see that. And when I brought that up, I said, hey, what do you think about these album covers? They said, what do you mean? I said, that wasn't done by AI. Then they started thinking, yeah, man, they had to do that. Yes, they did it by hand.
Yeah.
They knew how to put it down.
Put it down. Let's move it on.
Mother, mother,
Oh man.
there's too many of you to cry.
That bass line.
Brother, brother, brother.
Yep.
Woo! All
Mhm.
right. So that's what I was talking about earlier. There was an extended version where Marvin Gaye was again in the room full of dudes. They had the music that everyone's playing. He was lying on the sofa and he laid back with the microphone, right?
Yeah, I
So
remember that.
obviously the question about this, or should I say the message, powerful message of social commentary and a call for peace, reflecting the tumultuous times of the early 1970s. The song and the album of the same name addressed the Vietnam War, poverty, drug abuse, and racism, as well as environmental concerns. It was a response to the social injustices witnessed by Gaye, including police brutality and the
Yes.
Watts riots.
Yes.
So to me, that song was always nostalgia. It's for my father. Again, kids, growing up in the 70s, Real and I growing up in the 70s, there was always a family reunion, the 4th of July. There was some type of get together where you would hear something like this.
Yep.
So as far as it resonating with me, I wasn't aware of the social temperature or the climate outside at the moment, for the most part. Now I do remember as I got older, when I got to maybe second or third grade, where the N-word was starting to become prominent, being said to me by some of the little white kids. Even in the military installation, you would get that occasionally from some of these kids whose families were from those side of town. Now
Right.
they hide it as best as they could when they're in uniform. And I remember getting older where you would hear stories about GIs who I used to hang with when I was older talk about that yeehaw that you hear at the Christmas party. That's when you knew someone had too much and that word was coming.
Yep.
But going back to, again, this is right around the time when we were talking about the N-word is not a word of endearment or anything like that. Marvin Gaye's perfect, captures that. What's going on right in that area. What you got, Rilla?
Listen to the opening on that, right? Hey, brother, what's going on, man? They down in front of you
Yes.
can hear them on the street.
Yes.
Or you can see the barrel with the fire. The brothers gather around. They might be singing doo-wop or something, but you hey brother, what's happening? Oh man, same old same, and the thing of it is, man, I don't think when we have these conversations, not to pivot too hard to the gender stuff, but the conversation in terms of the dynamic between man and woman,
Right.
I don't think people really realize the number the Vietnam War did on our people.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? How the men returned home How they were doped up, destitute, weren't able to fully take advantage. And John, you may be able to speak to that better than me, but they just weren't able to take full advantage of the benefits that the government seemed to extend to every other veteran, right? And I know that's an ongoing thing with veterans, but there were a lot of protests, music coming. And keep in mind, this is early 70s. So you were still reeling from the effects of that war, and couple that with the beginning of the deterioration of the family, the black family. Add in poverty, add in people coming back hooked on opioids and heroin, and stuff like that.
Whatever they can use to dull the pain while they're overseas in the jungle.
It's a recipe for disaster. And voices like this. See, like the funny thing is that this type of voice in that time was not a rarity. You see what I'm saying? There were multiple artists. Now his was probably one of the most groundbreaking, right? But he wasn't the only artist making music that was calling out the time, like what that was reflecting the time. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Yep.
OG, what you got on it?
Marvin Gaye was deep, and you said that's 1970. Of course, that's very vivid memories for me. Like I said, my brother was killed in Vietnam in 1970. So I guess I was going through one of them times, and you're searching for something to kind of soothe your soul. And Marvin Gaye come out with this, but I had to really listen to the words to the music. And then it just woke me up. It's like, man, I hear what he's talking about, but is everybody listening? And that was the thing. And then, like I said, I started getting into listening to Marvin Gaye, So it was all that music had a part in my life, one way or the other. But I say it again, if it wasn't for music, I don't know where I'd be. But you guys you're refreshing my mind to a lot of things that I was out of touch with then because of the age gap. But it's always good to hear other sides of the story of what we dealt with and where we were at the time when all this stuff was going on, man.
Like I said, Top Cat, there's a lot of stuff that you are privy to that you may not remember, but Rilla and I, we're gonna shake it out of you. We'll make sure that's.
But here's the thing, OG. Everything I tell my uncle, I tell you, my uncle's 68, and he bugs out every time I tell him something. Because my earliest memory of my childhood is 5 years old, right? And I'll be 51 in August. And I would tell him some stuff, and he'd be like, "You remember that? Or you seen that? You seen me do that? Yeah, we saw y'all." I'm just telling you, OG. We saw y'all. We saw everything, and we remember.
I just put a picture up on Discord about the OGs that and they're still living, the OGs that helped me along the way, and there's 4 of them, and they all had their own stories to tell, and that was wild. If they see you doing something, hey, don't be doing that. You don't need that. They were always trying to lead you in a better way. You don't need that. Stop hanging around that. And today, when you tell them that, it's like they look at you like you crazy. No, we had parents in the home that cared for us, that looked out for us, and didn't want to see us go down that road. Because sometimes there ain't no return. You know what I'm saying? I mean, hey, that's what it was. But Marvin Gaye was deep. Isaac Hayes, he's another one. He was deep too.
Yes, sir. We'll keep it moving.
Oh man.
I debated. I want to put this one out here. This wasn't a social thing, but it was a favorite. I just had to put it through here.
Jeffrey Osborne.
Talk to me, fellas. This was way before I was active in the community. I told girls back in the day when I was making my messes around here and running around, hey, I'm not a player, but I'm active in the community. but in all due seriousness, though, this was way before. This is way before I was out here doing what I was doing, right? But still, when I heard this song as a child, I want to say it's like the late 70s again. My father had his albums out, right? Had his double platinum, you name it, things that have gone
Mm-hmm.
platinum, whatnot. And LTD was one of the sounds that I always would hear.
Mm-hmm.
Holding on, that one
Yes.
right. That was another nasty one. Beautiful. So the message behind this one, folks. The song explores the emotional struggle of clinging to a love that has ended and the realization that it's ultimately necessary to let go to move forward.
Yes.
I can think about this from that perspective. That song was not meant for just that time period. That is for anyone who's ever been in a relationship where you recognize that you have to have some skin in the game for the most
Mm-hmm.
part. You got to be willing to lose a little something or to lose it all to gain, which
Mm-hmm.
means that there's got to be some type of equal effort that gets put into it. But what happened, excuse me, if you are in more than the other person? You get
Man.
this song right here, but it's a growing experience. As I said before, sometimes you got to be stomped a little bit and slapped around. And I don't mean that in any type of negative way, but sometimes you have to go through it before you're ready to stand up to it.
But you know
Yeah,
what? You know what, Rilla? Just the word, just the letters, love, togetherness, and devotion. That's some deep shit there, man. That's really deep.
I
And
was today years old when I learned that. And this is one of my favorite albums. Go
what about? I
ahead.
tell you what. Okay, what about Back in Love Again?
Yeah. Yeah. No, you just told me, and it's right there on the
I love
screen,
that
plain as
song.
day, but you just told me what LTD stood for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I always heard it as love, tradition, and devotion if you were talking to someone who was trying to fill it in. But yeah, there it is right there on
Yeah.
the screen.
But there again, what is it sending? A message. But no, see, they don't get it. Why don't people get this stuff? We're trying to put the message out there
Yeah.
that every song has a meaning. And what do they put up there? Love, togetherness, and devotion.
Yeah.
Deep.
Well,
That's deep, man.
no, too many people think the music is strictly for entertainment purposes only, right?
Man.
Man, there's a song on this album, the Love Prayer with the
Yeah.
kids in the beginning of it.
Yes.
Like it's powerful. It's powerful. Nonetheless, right? This song, now I'm gonna tell you, tell both of y'all, this is in the basement of the Terry's house. They was my grandma's house right here. Miss Wilson next door. The Terry's is one door over, and our families are forever interlinked because my uncle and Dina were childhood sweethearts, and they one of them couples like they never married like at a courthouse. But I mean, my uncle took on prom. They got 4 kids together. I got 4 cousins, so our families are linked in that way. Now, this song takes me to their basement with the red light.
Yep.
And the card game, they playing punk, they playing bid whist, they definitely playing spades, and they rolling up some stuff in this white paper, like these. It looks like leaves to me, but they rolling up some, and it smells funny when they put a lighter to it. But they keep it in the yellow envelope. OG.
Oh yeah.
The little small yellow envelope. Oh, the
Yeah,
tops papers. The tops papers. That's what they rolling up with.
Yep.
Listen to this. I have never been so much in love before. What a difference a true love made in my life. So nice. So right. Listen to this. Loving you gave me something new that I never felt, never dreamed of. Something's changed. No, it's not the feeling I had before. Oh, it's so much more. Listen.
But it's much, much more.
Listen.
Go ahead, sing it.
You hearing the dude now? I did Jeffrey Osborne's a great disservice just by talking that through like that. The way that man is pouring out his soul to that woman, man. And speaking for the other brothers who can't sing quite as good as him.
Absolutely.
See, this is when we used to make the tapes.
Yes.
You put it on the tape and give it to your girl and say, you know, saying you put it on them one of them is it live or is it Memorex? Right?
Yes.
Put it on one of them things.
Yep.
You say, hey baby, check this here. You know?
Yep.
Yeah, that was corny. People laugh about how corny they used to think that was, but that was a thing back then. That girl that's
put them
your
tapes.
Mind, yeah, put them tapes together.
Hey, y'all tweaking. Listen, I've been out of high school for 30-some years. I'm a married man, and there's at least one girl I can tell you right now that heifer will still call me and ask me to make her a tape.
Tapes
you
were
know
business. Yes,
that was a big thing.
Tapes were business, but everyone would look back at nowadays. Oh, you got with some simps. You making music to give to a girl, boy. You didn't know.
Boy, you crazy.
Son, you just don't understand how the world used to work. But I guess that's the phrase.
What Tommy from Martin say? Get the drums down. Hey boy, you give her one of them good tapes, boy, you was guaranteed to get the draws down.
And this is the OGs letting you know about it.
Yeah, man.
I go and make a tape for somebody just because. This one right here. So what made me think about this on the add to my list? So the year is 1989, actually 1990 for the most part, 89, 90. Now I remember before the Yusef Hawkins incident, this was everyone getting together, looking at how gang violence was starting to pop up. So you had the Bloods and the Crips are now starting to move out from west. They're coming in the east. I remember guys in this small town where I'm from, in Tennessee, are walking around with blue bandanas talking about, yeah, because we Crip. I'm like, who ever heard of a country gangs from Tupelo, Mississippi or backwoods Tennessee? Are you serious? But you had guys, talk about being Bloods and Crips, out by, Kroger's, or by Big John's, something like that. Like, do you realize where you are talking this nonsense? But that was gang violence starting to spread out. I remember watching it on television when you used to see I think Frank Reynolds died in 82, so he was gone by then. But whoever were the local news guys that you saw talking about how gangs were becoming dangerous. The gangs they've got guns and they're well armed, and in some situations they're more armed than your local police officers. So be on the lookout, be on the alert. And then of course, not that they were the media was not trying to hype it up, but Rilla said it before, we were doing ourselves a disservice with some of the things that we were doing. And this is right about the time the crack epidemic was getting ready to jump off. So this is about 1989, 1990, where everything was coming together. And I remember when this video premiered, and it was crazy because how often did you see multiple hip hop artists together in one video? Now, the only time I'd seen something like that prior to this is what was the cut where you had Marley Marl, you had
Symphony.
Thank you, yeah, Symphony. And this was back when Big Daddy Kane was the shit. I mean, Big Daddy Kane owned everything. It seemed like from 88 up until 90 or so. He was the man. But again, a collaboration of multiple artists on the same records. It's a shame that it took something like Self-Destruction to do it. I'll land my plane right there. Anybody else got anything?
We can get off mute. So this I got on vinyl. I had to get this on vinyl. Man, it awoke the conscience. So here in Chicago, you right, it spoke to the gang violence, I guess, that was infiltrating. I never knew it was infiltrating New York on that level, because to me, I always thought it was corny for people to, pick up flags for stuff outside of their territory. You know what I'm saying? So like, even when they said like banging in Little Rock, like to me, that was goofy, right? Nonetheless, the overarching message in Self-Destruct, like when Kumo D said, I never ever ran from a Ku Klux Klan. I shouldn't have to run from a black man. Hey, that hit. That hit. When MC Light came in with her verse, Funky Fresh, dressed to impress, ready to party. And he talking about leave the guns and the knives alone. MC Light's on the microphone, right? The overarching message spoke to the violence that was occurring, the undertone of violence that was occurring in the inner city, period, amongst black people. And so this was probably one of the biggest posse cuts. That's what you're referring to. Symphony was a posse cut. Then shortly after this, you get We're All in the Same Gang, which did not quite have the same effect. Because it just looked like a play off of self-destruct. It was a valiant effort. It just did not have the same effect. But this song, when this dropped, it was a powerful statement. And to me, to be honest, it was another building block when you talk about the messaging in the music and being able to deliver something of substance for the people to dance. So I gotta ask you this: when you was going to the clubs and this hip hop was out, hey, were people dancing?
Yes. I was saying
Were the girls sitting down?
No, see, the girls, where was I? So right before I went back to Germany, it's back in my hometown in Tennessee. You had these little hole in the wall clubs. All right. One club we had was called Maplewoods. You know, like a VFW post, but it was large enough where you could still get in and have a little dance floor. You got the bar, you got some of the older OGs sleep at the table sometimes. But you can get up and people actually dance. The girls would actually let you walk. Hey, you want to dance? Yeah, grab her hand. You go out there and dance. Or, you know, she walk with you. Hey, you want to dance? Yeah, I want to dance. Well, the girls would actually approach you as well. It was reciprocity. So yes, they would.
Them girls wasn't shy about stepping to you either. No. Now, if you want to know what it was like, because people was like, oh, what y'all dance to? Go watch School Days and House Party. Watch the dance scene in House Party. It was exactly like that. When the slow music came on, you better be up on something. The lights finna go low. The lights finna go low. Now, if you want to know what it was like in the 70s, go watch the scene in Cooley High.
Yeah.
Right? Because you had to be up on something and you had to have a handful of something.
You had to be watching, but the problem is that the same chick you checking out, somebody else is checking out.
Absolutely.
So you got to be fast. You got to push a chair in the way. You know, you got to triple. You got to do a little something to make sure you get there before he does. Because
absolutely,
what I would always do is I would make sure that I find the girl right when I know the slow set was coming up. But here's something for you guys, Rilla. Also, TC, remember the time that you could go to the club and you knew there was going to be at least 2 slow sets. So you knew that you were going to dance for 45 minutes to a fast set. Then your first slow set would be maybe 20, 25 minutes. You go back to another fast set, about 45 an hour. Then you get that second slow set. And generally, after that second slow set, you need to have submitted to something. That means I've been working with somebody all night before the lights come back on. So you were guaranteed. You don't see that anymore. I remember I went out to a club. I was 43 when I really stopped messing around in clubs, right? I was in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I was working as a contractor. And I went to one of these new clubs that had just opened up. And this was about the time where everyone had that iPhone or the earlier models of it. And people were at the club sitting down. There were some folks who would get up and dance, but others were actually sitting at a table. 4 girls at a table, all of them looking at their phones. Then you ask someone to dance, no, and then go back to their phones, and they're sitting there laughing because they're sending shit to each other while sitting down. And if you get someone to dance, I had an ex-girlfriend that I met there. She was 42 at the time. I was 43. And she looked like one of these young girls. I mean, in shape, perfect. I looked at her, had a conversation. I happened to mention my age. She peaked right up because somebody was in her age group that actually wanted to dance. So people.
I'm gonna tell you, for me, when I was a shorty, especially when I was a shorty, but I mean, my experience in terms of getting older and I don't even do clubs no more. If I'm in Atlanta, I definitely might hit MJQ, but MJQ is not a club; it's more like an experience. Nonetheless, I've always been a dancer. I've always been a good dancer. So when I was a shorty, hey, me and my crew, we had routines. So we didn't have to choose. The girls was choosing us. Like real facts. Like they'd be like, oh, or say when they, because at that time they would throw on, oh, they would kill you with this. That key sweat right in the wrong way.
Oh yeah.
By the time that bass line hit, hey man, them lights go off. I'm talking about we some nasty little shorties too. You pushing up on some. Well, you got that girl, and you been sweating because you know you in your slacks and your rayon shirt, all your button up, all sweated out.
Sticky, you have to wring it out.
And you got the box pump, you know what I'm saying, with the little part right there. Oh, man. Man, we was killing. And your little gold chain. Man, hey, we was killing it. You know what I'm saying? We was killing it. And the girls literally, it was easy because again, like I say, go watch House Party. When you see Shireen and Sydney with their little routine, the girls was practicing on their routine all week too. So they would come ready to battle too. You understand what I'm saying? Now, to your point, it's just a lot of sit around or the girls throw it in a circle on each other. Like that ain't dancing to me. We used to get out there and we used to try our best to imitate the Nicholas brothers. Do your Googles.
Oh, yes.
Do your Googles. Skool and Scrap. You understand what I'm saying? We was on that type of time. Kid and Play. You understand? We was on that type of time when we was getting to it.
Do this my way.
Yeah.
I got something for Chicago House. Remember Fast Eddie Get Up?
Oh, yeah. He didn't get no love on the East Coast, but on them military bases, he got a lot of love. And then of course in Chicago.
Yeah.
You know, he was the first one. Well, he was one of the few people that dissed KRS-One. He had a song dissing KRS-One that was actually kind of dope. You know. Yeah.
I must have missed that one, definitely.
Oh, yeah. I don't think it went no further than the Midwest, to be honest. I mean, it's KRS-One, man. What you gonna do? You know?
Yeah, you gotta watch your P's and Q's at KRS-One. All right. What did I have up? Oh, you know what? Before I forget, I forgot the meaning behind this song. The song had a specific message to combat violence within the hip-hop community. The song was inspired by a young fan's death at a show and the murder of BDP's Scott LaRock. Rest in peace. It aimed to encourage hip-hop artists and fans to end the cycle of violence among themselves. The song, with its anti-violence message, was a call to action to address the issues plaguing the hip-hop community. And damn if we didn't land from it. Can I get a holla? Can I get a holla and amen?
Yeah.
Yeah, amen.
Yeah.
Right.
You didn't think I was going to forget, did you? Surely you didn't think I was going to forget. Brother Jay. Mythological. Yo, X-Clan.
You see what you got? You see you got on the cover, don't you? 1950 something Cadillac. That's what that is.
Hey, OG. This was, oh gosh. I'm just gonna say this and then I'll let y'all have it, man. This is protected by the red, the black, and the green with the key.
Yo, Vanglorious. This is protected. Yo, man. So I had never heard of X-Clan before. So as again, I'm sitting down on a Saturday morning watching Ed Lover and Dr. Dre, the overweight Dr. Dre, folks. Just in case you didn't know, that's the first Dr. Dre I knew of before Dr. Dre and NWA. Just so you know this, you had two Dr. Dre's floating around at the same time. But man, when this cut came on, that bass dropped, abracadabra. All hell, funkin' lessons. Like, yo, what is this? And this was about the same time, Rilla. Remember you talked about everyone had the Africa medallion, Back to Africa? And go ahead and show it to them, man. Let them see what it's about. This is that time where, there you go, Black consciousness. Not about warring, about fighting, but just consciousness about the re-education of Blacks to let us know where we came from. You always had Blacks talking about, well, where are our kings? Where's our moment in time? What is it that we can stand out for? And this made a lot of folks upset when they heard it. But the thing is that you have prominence. It's already been there. It has been here, but you forsake it, as they say. You do not look at what's there, because remember how kids would talk about, oh, you an African booty scratcher. Your little kids call you stuff like that. It's like they were embarrassed to be black to a degree. You were ashamed. Like, why? And then you try and talk to these kids. Like, do you not realize that when people talk about, I'm gonna take it just for a short minute here. They talk about Adam and Eve. They talk about the earth, how it came to be, the creation, and everything. And they say that the earth was created in 4004, if you listen to it from Christianity. But then what they fail to realize is that Africa had knowledge, had civilizations before then. You're talking about in 8000 BCE, there were hunter-gatherers in Africa. So when someone asks the question, so do you really think Adam was the first man? And again, I'll just leave it right there. But when you hear that type of stuff and you've been brought up believing all of that, you can't get to certain people. And the more you bring it up, the more, oh, no, I ain't trying to hear this. I ain't trying to hear this. Okay, so you're asking the question, where is black prominence? You won't listen to it. You can't be told it. But again, that's just me putting that little bit down. I'll just land my plane right there. Rilla, what's on you, man, when you hear that X-Clan?
Man, consciousness, man. Consciousness of the people, man. Again, this is what's funny? When you talk about X-Clan, your first thought, if you were there for this, we'd be lying if we didn't say, okay, this is like the second coming of Public Enemy. But it wasn't the second coming of Public Enemy. The X-Clan was definitively X-Clan, and they actually built off of the foundation that Public Enemy laid. And when you get to talking about, again, the messages, when you talk about the African booty scratcher piece, right? That's us in elementary school and grade school, right? By the time you get to X-Clan, by the time you get to Public Enemy, man, you got dashikis, you got your African medallion piece. Most people are changing their names. You know what I'm saying? You got people changing their names to Swahili names. Like, again, I got on my dad's side, I got a set of cousins, 6 or 7 cousins, all Swahili names, right? So they reinforce it. And I'm told my aunt gave them that name because she was in that whole back to Africa conscious, right? And so let me tell you something, for people whose identity was stolen, whose language was ripped from them, whose history was blurred, the X-Clan and this particular era of hip hop served as a kind of candle and flashlight, lighting the path back home. It was that's why I say this era is so much more than music, fam. It's so much deeper than rap. I'm on mute.
But you know what? I look at that album cover and I was like, yeah, they represent the OGs with them old vehicles. You know what I mean? And then you know how they got them old Chevys doing with them donks and all that. That's
it's all culture, OG.
Yeah,
that's our culture. That's exactly what they. Again, you're gonna see a lot of
foolishness
and Egyptian symbolism.
Yes,
but you also gonna see because they definitely was on that funk.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Funkin' lesson, that Parliament, that P-Funk, they definitely was on that funk.
Hey,
that was something, man.
Something like this. I keep around my neck. People ask, "What is this?" I said,
sir.
"This is." As I tell, this is Ramses III. We're talking about the last of the warrior pharaohs of Egypt. And people ask me about it. I tell them, no, I'm not one that you would find to be in religion. However, I am someone who is big on historical accuracy. And that's one thing I will always speak about, that historical accuracy.
Yeah,
it's one thing that I look to. Hey, I almost forgot a shout out to my boy Tiger Touch here. 56 tomorrow.
That's a blessing.
Hey, welcome to it. Before I forget this, again, it's my homeboy. It's the DJ. Shout out to Teach.
Yeah, he catching up now. He on the catch up.
Like I said, folks, a lot of the things that I see now when I'm out reading, like right now I'm reading what does that say? American History Black as Fuck. Or, let me not make the name a hold up, fellas. Check this out.
Is that by Ibrahim? Let me see.
Yeah, my man Michael Harriot. Black
Oh,
History,
okay.
the unwhitewashed story of America.
Yeah. Let me see the side of that book. Hold on. That look thick. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Sir. So I've had this book for over a year, and I
Mm-hmm.
have not gotten into it the way that I need to. So I finally got started with that.
Nice.
Hey, oh, Don, girl, you are gonna be hurting so bad when you get up for work in the morning. You are still here.
Who's saying there was no slavery?
Yeah, that's what they're trying to do. Remember, in Florida, where they tried to change the whole narrative. Oh, well, no, the slaves, no, they had good jobs. You know, the masters were making
Oh,
sure that they were educated. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's again this whole thing. I think I mentioned this when you look at the Daughters of the Confederacy
oh yeah.
after the Civil War. This is that nonsense where I mentioned on our first live stream together,
Yeah.
where you have two competing histories. You got the history that may not be as accurate as it needs to, but at least it acknowledges the achievements of blacks, Hispanics, Asians, of non-white folks. But then you have the Daughters of the Confederacy, who are responsible for a lot of the racial tension that you have for pushing the lie, the narrative, or the lost cause of the Confederacy, saying that, oh, it was benevolence that was shown to the slaves. The masters were good to them. They didn't beat them. They enjoyed being in captivity because the masters taught them a skill. You know, all this type of nonsense. Everything
Yeah.
that you see from the hatred and the pushing back for equality is the result of the history that was never borne down on and stamped out that the Daughters of the Confederacy put forward. So that's what Don was speaking for. The new thing. Oh yeah. So that's what she's
And
referring.
this is why, and I'd be remiss if I did not say happy 100th birthday, born day to El Haj Malik El Shabazz, Malcolm X, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is literal insanity for us to expect these people to preserve our history, teach our history properly, or try to appeal to their sense of morality and ethical dignity, if you will, right? If that's a comprehensive statement, like it's that we have to maintain and fund our institutions, and we are responsible for teaching our babies this history right and exact. So when you get somebody like an OG up here who could tell you right and exact what was going on during that time, you need to sit at the feet of the elders and listen. You know
Hey,
what I'm saying?
what were they saying? Real black fatigue or something? What were they talking
I
about?
don't know what they talking about. They working my nerves. They
I
done
know.
flipped stuff and remixed it so many times. I got black fatigue now.
Yeah,
Dealing with these Negroes.
see, here's the thing. They all got different definitions.
Yeah.
I said, shit, my thing about black fatigue was walking up and down these steps every day. That's all I can I'm
Yeah.
I don't know what they're talking about, but that's to me. See,
Yeah, man. They didn't remix stuff so many times, and I keep telling them just because you pour syrup on it, don't make it pancakes, man.
I'm talking about this new thing. What was that Don just said? Well, we were already here. This nonsense right here. Now I got into it with somebody in the chat, just so we take a side street here because I know it's getting late here, folks. But that foundational Black American nonsense, you heard that?
Mm-hmm.
And I call again, foundational Black asher. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, John Henry said that mess. The most ignorant thing I heard them say, "Oh, well, you know, Black folks are native to North America." No, we were not. It's like why you don't have anyone who was Asian who was in England, or anyone who was from South America was in Russia, or anyone who was Russia was in Australia. No, we all came from distinct places. But the thing here is that nonsense about Black Indians, it wasn't because Blacks were native to North America. It's because of the fact that the Spanish were the first to bring Africans to this side of the world. We're talking about in the Caribbean, South America, Antigua. And the whole reason that was done that way is because they figured, well, maybe if we bring them to a climate that is close to where they came from, they will live better and they'll work better.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have blacks who went with these exploration parties to North America, some either escaped, some had the option to leave, depending on the hunting party they were with. But that's how you have black folks. You had these black Indians. It wasn't because black folks were native to North America. It's like, black folks, stop this stupid shit. Pardon my language.
Yeah,
We're always looking for this division that we always look for it amongst ourselves. But then when we want to stand out, we come up with this stupid shit.
Yeah.
So no, blacks were not native to North America. All right. Stop the foolishness.
That's crazy, ain't it? Black
Yeah.
protest. Like, what are they on now? Now one thing is another. Now they're on this, and I just I just shake my head. I'm like, what?
Well, OG, the programming is taking place, right? So it used to be they had leaders that they would target, right? So whether it was a Marcus Garvey and Nat Turner, then you get to the intellectual piece where you got the W.E.B. Du Bois or Booker T. Washington. They would systematically pick us apart all the way up to Fred Hampton, who at 21 was decimated in his apartment with his right hand sitting on guard and his pregnant woman who was carrying his seed. Right now, it's on autopilot. Just throw a random subject out there and watch the Negroes argue about it.
Yeah.
Oh, the little white lady called the Negro baby. No, the Sudan. That ain't even a black baby. It's Sudanese. They Sudan. So wait, they like what? Right. These are the things that people. This is the idiot stuff people are talking
That's
about.
that foundational black assery I'm talking about. Well, he's not really a black person.
Meanwhile, the person at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue is making moves like he got only 3.5 years to get whatever he wants to get done.
Yes,
he's moving like a speeding bullet to get it done.
And
we not paying attention. We over here arguing over stupid stuff, and our boys are still reading at a 4th grade level. I'm going on mute.
I told them before he got in there, when they was running up the election, they're all laughing, talking about he gonna do this, this, and this. I said, you know what? Y'all better get ready because you ain't prepared for what's coming. Oh, what you mean, OG? Everything gonna be good. Stock market, crypto. And I'm like, yo, there's something wrong with y'all. There's something wrong with y'all. Now you're getting the wake-up call. Now you're starting to tax certain programs. Now they ain't liking it. I told you what's gonna happen. You just didn't pay attention. And that's the thing. That's what I mean about us. We can focus on what each of us been through and talk about it and stay away from this foolishness because we know how it started and how we went through every phase of it. And like Mrs. OG was saying, I don't want to be long-winded, but she's sitting at the table. And I said, yeah, they said the slaves was dumb, but they couldn't have been too dumb if they was singing that music to go to freedom.
Are you guys in this? If I can break in, what Don just said, it was wild. I asked her what show is this on. She hadn't replied back yet, but they were talking about slavery was a myth.
Yeah, right.
So again, this is why this show here, if I want folks to understand here, if you're in the chat or if you know anybody, make sure you share this out. This is the whole reason why the council exists. Is why we got together so we can at least make sure that for some of these clowns who won't open books, but will rather open links, this will be a link that can be referred to. So this is that foolery that I'm talking about over here.
And you know what?
Oh, here we go.
Oh boy, now I know.
Freezy.
And that's the thing.
This clown.
No,
right
I don't think it was Freezy saying it.
If it wasn't, but he's still a fool. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I know people be up there talking.
Yeah,
but that's the reason why. Yeah, like the worst thing they could have did. First of all, podcasting and YouTube is the new rap game, right?
So
everybody can do it.
Any Negro can get up here with a mic and act like they really got something to say of importance and pound on their chest, and
just like you guys said.
Yeah, I don't think it was Freezy either, but shout out to Don though. I'm sorry your ears had to endure that.
Yeah,
girl. Oh,
shout
out to Don.
Ooh, yeah, shout out. Good looking out though, Don, for at least staying in here. But I did not know this was the new bit of foolery that was going on. So once again, so just to make it clear here, no, he's saying that it was not Freezy, although I've had my run-ins with him, and there's just some foolery that comes about. Going back to when we were talking about when the sister was shot by the cop and she thrown the water in self-defense, but everyone was saying she didn't throw the water. She threw the water. It was clear. But when I went up there and made the statement, hey, nobody believed me. No, I was the idiot, right? I don't know if you saw the show, Top Cat, but yeah, I was the bad guy.
Oh, yeah, that's all it takes.
As soon, about a week or so after, they went back and did the examination. I even put a video out. I want to say that I had done a video. I don't think I released it, but you could see where she actually threw the water in self-defense. She went down, she came back up, grabbed the pot, and threw the water, and it ended up about 3 to 5 feet away from her because you could see where the steam came up on the ground next to the cop, where it was admitted she threw the water. But because of the fact it was a white cop who shot her, and again, his ass should have been in jail. That was straight murder what he did. Right. No one is saying that he was correct in his actions. He was wrong from start to finish. But what we have are the details that no one took the time to look into. All right, which was that she had thrown the water, but she grabbed it in self-defense. So I remember Freezy talking about, John, man, that's just silly what you're saying, man. She didn't throw no water. But when you slowed it down enough, you can see that's exactly what she did, and it was stated later on.
It's a dude, and I've been kept quiet about this stuff. And to me, he's the real OG because we grew up together. If you Google Billy Martin, the attorney, he's Johnny Cochran II. Nobody knows about him. He's the one that represented Michael Vick, Jason Williams, all that stuff. That Chandra Levy crap when she went missing, right? Who they get? They got him. So I said to myself, you know what? I'm gonna start leaning on his brain because he's been involved in all that. And this is the panel that I want to get him on because you see, he can sit there and guide us around, and we don't have all that. You know how them panels, like they be talking, you can't get a word in edgewise.
Where it gets messy, where everyone is fighting the mic. You have to say one mic. No one cuts microphones off. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah. So when one person Googled his name, there was silence. I said, why y'all quiet? Because he's black? Because he's a brother? He's a partner in a law firm in DC. Anything you need, just reach out, email me or call me, and I'll be glad to help you out. And they're like, you know him? I said, we live next door to one another. We grew up together as kids. Hey, and look at him now. Go ahead.
So one thing I just want to say here about the X-Plan. Here's what the message to their music was about. The message was to integrate their political and cultural message with a funky, catchy sound. The song aimed to spread Black nationalist ideas. Now, remember before where I talked about Black nationalists versus what we hear with white nationalists. Right. There was no violence with Black nationalists. This was the thing talking about being proud, being able to represent your culture, and also striving for the best for your culture, not overrunning and attacking a building or anything like that, or much less the Capitol. The song aimed to spread Black nationalist ideas and promote a sense of Black pride and identity, all while delivering a fun, danceable experience. And damn it, I'll tell you right now, I shook it down. When that song came on, I'm going to let you know. And remember, Chicago, you and I will remember more so than TC. Do you remember the sister that rolled with them? You don't remember? Well, you know me, man. I'm going to go ahead and help you out. You and I on that hip hop.
Go ahead.
Mythology. The myth told of the sun.
Light-skinned sister.
And the moon called
Isis.
Eclipse. This moment brought forth the birth. Due to the original's state of mind in this space and time, we who write the know summons the goddess Isis. The struggle continues.
It just came back to me.
Peace. This is the Professor X, the overseer.
There it is.
As I glide and reside in the hutch of this meteor. Goddess
Lord, amen.
Isis, preparing myself to step to you in blackness. The mission,
Oh, gee, you know
the
this beat?
crossroad.
Here it is. Drop.
That's the bridge too.
Towards the black, a load and a half a set on my back. I would self, though not alone, vainglorious from African bone. The relationship
Nah, not Sister Soldier.
flow from my
Oh,
That's
yeah,
Public
this is
Enemy. This is ISIS.
Remember the lesson, the lady of thunder, for my aggression.
Fair
Let the
use,
bass
fair
beat
use.
on and on, beating while lightning.
This is how our sisters used to talk.
Hail
Yeah.
to the queen,
Message.
cause if you think this is dope, then I'm a dope fiend. A black radical, ride the rhythm, I'm a rebel, on a positive level. So feel the
And the
vibes
chorus
of
is
my madness.
nasty.
Here's a touch of love from pure blackness.
Oh yeah, I remember this one.
Slave. That's the
That's
touch.
all I was about to say.
Yep.
That was Slave. Yep.
Yep, Slade. Yep.
Yo, fair use, fair use. Talk about it, fellas.
Yeah, this
Now-
ain't no Sexy Red, man.
No,
Oh,
This
no.
ain't no Trina.
No,
This ain't no
no
Lil
Sexy
Kim. This
Red.
ain't no
This is
Foxy
no Megan
Brown.
Thee Stallion. This
No.
is not Cardi B.
Hey,
Nope.
and listen,
No.
we gotta pay homage to the queen, man. Latifah kicked the dough in for this particular style.
She did.
Light and sweet tea and like the Roxannes, the Real Rocks, all that, like Sparky D's, they did their thing. But this particular genre with the consciousness and the messaging and stuff like that, Queen Latifah kicked the dough in. But you're right, I low key forgot about Isis, man. Isis was bad. Isis was bad.
yes.
And and John, and she was kicking the ballistics.
Yes, she was. And people seem to forget here. Now, actually, Isis was the Roman name or the European name. I want to say Aset was actually the name for Isis. I think it was Aset, but Isis was something that everyone in Western culture identified with. Because believe it or not a lot of people know that the religions that they speak of, it all came from Africa. But that'll be something else that we won't do tonight, gentlemen. That is something that folks just not ready to hear, because a lot of the people that they worship, some never really existed and others had their names changed. And then there were some in actuality who were not the first. I'll just leave it at that. I've got a book up here right now that lets people know that the person that they pray to the most right now is the last of a version of 15 that came before. But you can't put that out in the open because there are folks who are still not ready to listen to that. Bet. But as I said, yeah, Isis, as everyone knows, again, Isis' name is actually Aset, but still, Isis, when she dropped that, man, that was just ill. I mean, again, you've got the female version of the X Clan right there. You've got brother Funkin' Lessons, Brother J. That's who she was to me. She was the female equivalent. The way that her rhymes came out. I bought her CD. Matter of fact, I bought her CD and X Clan the same day. What you got, Rilla?
Yeah, man. Again, like I said, man, you got to give it up to Queen Latifah, and this was the perfect segue, right? Perfect extension of Professor X and Brother J. And rest in peace, Professor X. But Brother J, with that extension of X Clan and the messaging, man. You talk about Funkin' Lesson, and I wonder if at this time was this. I wonder if she dropped that before Crisscross dropped their joint, because this was way harder.
She dropped hers about a
year.
And
Jermaine Dupri was, known for biting like heavily, right? So, yeah, man, this again tying into the message in the music. It was not all party hardy and loosey booty, but when they gave you the message, trust and believe the beat was dope, and trust and believe the dance floors was not empty, man. But OG, I got what you know about that Slave, man. Just a touch of love, man. You had that beating in your old school, OG.
Yeah, I remember that song. I remember it. I'll be jamming to it. Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And even the fact that who was Professor X doing the production or Brother J? Whoever was doing the production and thought to take the bridge from that song and put that in the front, right, as an intro, and then man, yeah, that was hard, man. That was hard.
Yeah.
You're on mute.
Okay, let's go. We got to pay homage here. Pay homage, as they say here. Check this out. So, let's see if I can get this back here. Stop me, OG. This is for you since you know about it. What do we know? Get it up. And we know this hook is a lot of hip hop. The song
This is Ice Cube. This is Ice Cube.
Top cat for you, OG. Oh, Mrs. OG. Putting it back in for him. Hey. Where you?
We get these, huh?
So, again, that song right here is in so many hip hop cuts.
Mm-hmm.
When you stop and think about, as they say again, the message. So, but the message that we go back, hip hop would go back and get that old music that people have forgotten about, and they would rejuvenate it.
Right.
And I remember at a certain point in time when they were reintroducing the message, sort of like what was that? Ice Cube, matter of fact, took the message and created "Protect Yourself Before You Wreck Yourself."
No.
And the message that he was putting out there was talking about all this fronting people were doing. Well, you had old boy who went to jail, had his chest all pumped out. Next thing you know, he came back, he was acting like Sasha.
Now your name is just Twan.
Big D's in your mouth is bad for your health. Yeah, okay. We got Jay Jameson coming through again. I apologize, man. I've been putting your info up here, but I haven't been reading it out. Yep. We talked about this earlier. Freedom or death. We should all be moved. Vainglorious. This is protected by the red, the black, and the green with the key, sissy. Yes, sir. Hey, remember that other cut from that album, Grand Verbalizer? What time is it?
That was but everybody used that. Everybody Rakim, Too Short, yeah.
Yeah, but do you know who actually came up with that?
Well, with the beat?
Yep.
Who produced? Oh, you talking about the original song?
The original, yeah, the original.
That sounds. I want to say somewhere in Ohio.
I know that
I could be off. I could be way off.
I know that beat, and the beat takes me back to the Average White Band.
There you go. Nailed it.
There we go. Look at him. Look at OG.
Nailed it. I told you.
Yeah.
I told you.
OG pulled out the big joke and hit you with the bow. Now what, young buck? Now what I tell you, young buck?
Yep.
Gotta get out of the big bass line coming.
That snare on that drum.
Yep.
That's my man right here. The rip bass. Both of them play bass, rip guitar. There you go. Music, young. Music. Fair use. Fair use. The original.
Everybody's long.
One thing.
There must be something we could explore.
Fair use. Fair use.
Maybe I can rock your heart.
These two right here. These are two guys singing. What do you know about? Does it bring it back to you?
Yep.
Top cat.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the Schoolboy Crush.
Yo, and the funny thing about it is that when I first heard that groove, it was not. Well, I'll put it this way: I heard this when I was growing up in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole thing is that everybody else, like Chicago was saying, you didn't get that from the average white band. You didn't hear that from them. Sour Tears and Blood by Fela Kuti and the Africa 70. Shout it. All right, Jay Jamison throwing some information in there for us, folks. No one can think about that short, but when you think about this, I'll tell you where everybody else knows where this cut is. Now, obviously, I'm not going to let this run too long because we know the individual I'm about to put up here. We all know the dude who everybody knows this cut from did not conduct himself when it came with the use of words. But the music was funky. Who else can you think of right now sampled that cut that we just heard?
Yeah.
Life is too short.
All right, and we got our Willa. We got our Rilla with the winner. The Rilla, remember the second card? That's the line.
Oh yeah.
I remember how it all began. I used to sing
Fair
dirty
use,
raps to
fair
my
use.
inside fans back then. I knew
You're on
you
mute,
couldn't
Rilla.
stop this rap.
You're on mute.
I know. I was just rapping to it.
Back in the South,
College life.
he gave up the mic and bought you a beeper. You want to rap or sell coke. Brothers like you ain't never broke.
Yo, that is what it was like. I remember for the short period that I went to college before I joined the military. You go to the Alpha House or you go to one of the parties that the Qs were throwing. That's what you had going down, man. That was music. Now, the messaging right there. Now, yes, at this point in time, it was about the party. But this is about the same time that the consciousness was coming in. Because when Rilla was talking about the party, remember, we talked about mid-'80s. You're talking about Kid and Play. You're talking about like Schoolie D again. You're talking about BDP now starting bringing that consciousness. But then you also have who was it also when it came to music, R&B? Johnny Kim Just Got Paid. You had Guy. You know, when New Jack Swing came in, you had Rex and Effects. You had Redhead Kingpin and the FBI. You know, these guys are sitting here partying, but at the same time, they were still talking about a message. But you still had the party element that was involved with it as well. So when I think of that period of time, yeah, I can remember as you and I, matter of fact, TC, you and I were talking about it, where music went from being a party thing of ain't gonna hurt nobody.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden this thing, bitch, shut the F up. He was when I came from around the way. That when NWA came out, like, yo, what's all this shooting going on? What is all this brothers shooting at brothers? What is this mess going on? That was when MC Hammer was starting to really get into his thing, jumping around the parachute pants. And I remember who was that dude who always used to hire for him? Too Big MC. And I could never figure out why is this dude out here yelling on the mic, hyping it up, because Hammer stuff stood on his own. Yeah, everyone clowned him, but when he really started understanding that he was not going to be able to fight the gangster rap music, it was already too late, because about that time, that's when he released, I think Rilla had mentioned it before, Hammer the Funky Headhunter. So by the time he released the Funky Headhunter, it was pretty much done. His wave was gone. Gangster rap was already there to stay. And I think Dr. Dre and Snoop were already out on this second fold here. And then, of course, you had the Dog Pound that came in. But the biggest cut by the Dog Pound, when I think about them, the messaging had stopped being about Black consciousness. It stopped being about the party. The message soon became, and pardon my language when I say this, for any ladies still on the panel, it became about, the bitches, the hoes, and getting more. Your money, cash, money, and respect. Okay, that's what it seemed like the messaging had become in the music. And when I think of that, I think of a lot of the bad boy type of era. And then also Jay-Z with Foxy Brown. What was it? Cash, money, and respect. I can't remember.
That was the Locks and Lil Kim.
The Locks and Lil Kim, excuse me. I get that mixed. Yeah.
Damn.
Money, power, respect.
Power, and respect. Yeah,
DMX.
That's what the messaging came, and that's what is still sitting here right now. Money, power, and respect. The message and the consciousness, it's all gone at this point.
Yeah, that average white band that brings back a lot of memories. A love of your own, or something like that. Was a hell of a jam here. That song was tough. The average white band. I remember I was watching on YouTube, and I think they put it was two youngsters, black, and when they heard it, they were shocked that they wasn't they wasn't black. They was white, and they're like their mouths hung open. It was like, damn. The brothers, they did sound like they was brothers, though. I mean, if you didn't know, they sound just like they was black, but then you end up they was white, and they had a good thing going there at that time. That group was something, man. Yeah, but I remember that only a schoolboy crush.
Yeah, but that's like Doobie Brothers and BG.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, that's
shoot. Bobby Caldwell. They purposely didn't put him on his album cover.
They're worried about the fact that if they actually saw who he was, he wouldn't sell. But you always had that silhouette. I remember the silhouette. Matter of fact, I think I played that the other day when OG and I were just out here chilling. You know, we were talking about the I think the show we did was Submission. And we had talked about some of the music. I'm sorry, it was before that. Before we did the show about Submission, we talked about some of the music about being the soundtrack to our lives. And that was one of the things I brought up because, again, going to Bobby Caldwell, the messaging in him, it was all about, it was all about love. Everything that he put out, it was about a man and a woman.
Yes.
It was about a relationship. And everything that he did was about that. His messaging, if I recall, it never seemed to slip. Every time he dropped something, it was about the relationship.
Yeah.
What I don't understand today is how can we go from where we come from to sing to the woman? They weren't bashing them black women back in them days. They were loving them black women. How we go from that to now? Women ain't shit.
I'm gonna tell you how. I blame Puff. Okay, because when you start, and I'm saying specifically how I remember this, as much as I love Jodeci, when you start merging hip hop and R&B to where hip hop is now influencing R&B. See, R&B used to influence hip hop in terms of the beats and stuff like that, right? When hip hop started influencing R&B, not only just for the beats, then they started pushing to see how more raunchy, how more edgy. The more hip hop got edgy, the more R&B got edgy. Started being less about who could actually sing and the craft, and it started being about how good you look in front of the camera, right? And how many people you can get to flock to the shows. And now it's just a circus, right? So now these cats, most of these cats don't even know how to seduce a woman anymore, right? No. It's like just turn around, give it here, let me get it, da 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 da, blah blah blah, right? But I when you look at that Uptown era, that Bad Boy era, that's when you start to see, especially Jodeci, they were considered quote unquote the bad boys of R&B. That's when you see the tone and the music change, and to what you get, today, especially by the time Robert Sylvester Kelly took off. It was rap after that.
Chicago, you broke it down where I remember you talking about just earlier, not tonight, but we talked about the influence of music. And just now, just a moment ago, you talked about how hip hop had been influencing R&B. R&B was influencing hip hop. But remember how they got together. I want to say it was probably Angie B, Too Legit to Quit, the concert version, where her and MC Hammer were on the stage at the same time. You had a rapper and you had an R&B artist, right? All right, so hit me with this, fellas.
On this, Little Caesar.
We just talked about this. Fair use.
That's me.
Check it. Yo, I be buying B's, so all my girls be eyeing C's. Coming backstage, dying to get pleased. You got me, I rock me, Versace and linen. While you spot me grinning with a bunch of foxy women. While you speedball with cars, that's the valid. I get clothes custom made from a stylist. Cruise in my Lexus land with no malice. While you walk the street until your feet get callous. Take you on the natural high like a pallet. It be all good, toss your clothes like a salad.
Now, notice what not hip hop was not like this going into the top of the 90s, top of the inning. All right. This is not what hip hop looked like.
Oh, hell no.
Absolutely not. I know you didn't keep up with it the way that Rilla and I did, but Rilla, I can see the look on your face. There's a thought forming. What's back there?
No, I mean, again, this is when you get the shiny suit era for Bad Boy. Again, this is when money is pouring in, and when you get that proliferation of money, and the music business was already a dirty game with a nasty name. They just found a new genre to pimp and smut out. And shout out to David Banner, man. He was recently on the podcast talking about how we sold out the music.
Yeah, damn sure. I mean, think about this. When we went into the 90s and we were leaving, this is what the girls were dressed like when they were doing hip hop. Shout out Fair Use. Who remembers the girls? Who here remembers the girls?
Oh yeah, that was I'll Be Sure group.
Yeah, don't you wanna dance with me? Come on.
Fair Use.
Don't you wanna dance with me? I wanna dance with you. Come on. Jam, if you can.
Yo, this is when
You know how much aerobics we were doing back then, man, with this Running Man? That's crazy.
Oh, yeah. Now, this was effort. Fair use.
That's why you can see them girls' collarbones. All that dancing, all that aerobics. That's what it was.
Yep.
No, the whole time. Getting it up to it, man.
Yep.
And this is the one thing I remember. Check out the brothers at the back, though.
Oh yeah, you had to have your brothers.
Check out that flow step, boy. That was nasty.
But look at what the brothers are wearing. Like, it's baggy, but you understand what I'm saying? It's a suit.
Right.
There's the box cut.
Oh yeah. Oh, his fade is nice.
This is what hip hop used to be. This is what I think of when I talk about hip hop. Now, how far away from that is
Look at that hair, dude.
Check these brothers take out the staircase. Go ahead.
Hey, he better be glad he ain't messed his ankle up. It's like every video we was doing a Running Man.
Everybody was running. Like I said, man, you cannot beat.
Is that the Mike Tyson? Man, we had names for our dance. You had the Mike Tyson, Reebok, Cabbage Patch.
Oh wait, the
Pee Wee Herman. Oh man, there was so many names for these dances, man. You was getting a workout, man.
Yeah, they had the names.
You be sore the next morning doing some of that stuff, man.
Knocked out from jumping up and down here. But the thing that kills me, though, again, like you said, the collarbones, the exercise, the Running Man, all of that, everything that was done. And notice the girls kept it. They kept it clean. All right, you didn't have anything crazy. What was coming out of the mouth. Now, Jay Jameson asked the question and said, "Hey, want to hear another play? TLC ain't too proud to beg." So we'll get one more up in here before we disperse here. But let's think about this: the lyrics and the looks. Remember the last bit of hip hop where the girls had clothes on. Now I'm pretty sure this is not going to be the good version because we all know what the good version of "Ain't Too Proud to Beg" is. But yeah, but this is. But notice, fully clothed.
Yep.
But see, you used to have to guess what was underneath them. That was like somebody like Chili. Oh man, you was trying to lay down some game on her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fair use, fair use.
And the fact she still looked like that—that's crazy.
And she still looks this way. Oh, and this girl, man, she was a baddie also.
Man.
You know what?
Yeah.
She was crazy. She burned your house down.
Guys. I just lied, everybody. I lied. There's one more here, but left eye, she was slept on. You can all the clothes that she had on, what she's wearing, you never knew.
Oh no, what was that? By the time they get to Crazy Sexy Cool, yeah, no, there was people left out of here. Yeah, but for me, Chili was the deal, man. She was so goddamn fine with that baby hair, man. Little cinnamon brown thing, man, and she still looked that way. That's crazy.
The red light special. Remember the red light?
That red light. Oh, look at OG. Look at OG. OG had him a little red bone. Talk about that red light special. Yeah, we see you, OG.
Yeah.
Here's where you get slept on if you didn't pay attention to left eye though. Chili was nice, but I want to say this may be the one.
Yep. This is what's up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see if
she walking down that hallway. Yep.
Oh yes.
Yep. And he's from the crib too.
What up? Say what, say what, say what?
Yes. Again, there's that mellow R&B, but this girl right here, son, had no idea she looked like this.
No, you know what? You got a point. Yeah, we did not know until this video. You right.
Had no idea that she looked like this, but you know what? We'll get to the good part. We all know what we want to see, right?
Shoot, I'm
not ashamed to say so. I'm not ashamed to say so.
Say what, so baby, tell me what's up. Can we ascend to higher heights and when the path gets rough? We can get into brighter nights, breathe with peace. Expound by leaps and soul to reap our souls to keep the passions deep and filled with heat. Living this life on the hustle, I barely get enough time. You know me from the platinum, how I stack and shine. You see
Go ahead, girl, walk on.
End up in my world.
There you.
My waist, be the best that I
Oh, gee, he having flashbacks.
Yeah, man. Let's take our time. Better holler if you hear me, cause left eye gon' shine. My eyes don't lie.
It's still plastic.
Pass me by. You and I don't need permission to be unified. Surely I've been seen and heard of many places. Then I traveled around the world, see many faces. Don't let another one get near me if you wanna be true and show me that nobody else can do it better than you.
Gotta get a little bit in there.
I'm curious to see what you. My love is furious cause I believe in blowing up spots.
Oh,
that was hard. That was R&B, man. But you know, LaFace didn't have no goof because you know, Babyface was still over there writing and producing. I forget who's the other brother. Not Donnell, Daryl something. They had he was over there producing with Babyface, so they still had do like real genuine R&B cranking up out of there, man. You know. But again, no, go ahead. You got it, John.
I didn't mean to cut you off, and you finished off.
No. I was just saying again. To me, I pinpoint when Puff, and again, I love Uptown, love Jodeci, all that. But when you get hip hop influencing R&B, in particular, hip hop influencing R&B lyrics, because you got to remember. Hip hop was rough, rugged, and raw. Now instead of the so remember BBD, their whole thing was hip hop smoothed out on the R&B tip with a pop feel appeal to it.
Yep.
You move way left of that. Now it's just rough, rugged, and raw. You don't have the balance no more. Now you're rough, rugged, and raw in your R&B.
Rough Riders.
Down. Yeah.
But then now the Firm had that Firm biz for a minute though. I got to admit, Firm seemed like they were going to do a little something, but they didn't last long enough.
I think because Nas was really carrying that group. You didn't really have like AZ was smooth with it, but he was just more of a compliment to Nas, man. He was really the one carrying that group. Leah had that tomboy style, man. She was like the girl next door. And then again, what we knew her for primarily
Y'all gonna make me do it again. Go ahead, Bill. Y'all
the,
gonna make me do it again.
was the Robert
Oh, Lord.
stuff, right? But when she got with Timberland and Missy, that's when she blew up. But listen, y'all need to check for Missy when she was
She sang in that girl group. I cannot think of the name.
dang, what was the name of that group? I had just had it on the tip of my tongue.
Is it Sister?
I
Was it
want to
Sister?
say Sister. Yep, that's what it was. Sista, Sister. Yep, that song Brand New that was produced by Devontae. Yeah, you did, Jay.
Oh, hey, what can I say, man? It's still.
You said sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, but not sorry. Hey, it's about a message. And when you talk about message, you're right. Because I thought of this yesterday. I didn't know if I wanted to include Aaliyah or not, but remember that bounce style that she had with R. Kelly? Her first album, 1 in a Million. I mean, not 1 in a million, but
no, age ain't nothing but a number.
Age ain't nothing but a number. But when she got with Timberland, you could hear that style that she really came into herself. R. Kelly,
that's they found her sound with, yeah.
She found her sound, and then when you mentioned that, yo, bring it back. Fair use. You can hear that Timberland influence.
Turn my music up. Up some more. Up some more.
Now Devontae dropped the ball big time.
Fair use. And her whole style, her whole flow, the way she came into the verses and everything like that.
Mama always told me to be careful who I love. And Daddy always told
Do
me
you hear the message? Sound like your life.
Yeah.
I always had my eyes on this one particular guy.
But even look at the title of the song.
So
We used to write them 4-page letters.
Yeah, that's right.
Fair use.
Hey, and you used to spray with some Brute Fabergé.
Look at that. She is telling you right there. She said, my daddy told me. My mama said her parents were talking to her. All right. Listen to that message in here that her parents were guiding her, and she wrote a 4-page letter to the man that she was interested in. Even though I think one of them broke her heart, but still, nonetheless, yeah, New Jack Swing era is the best for both hip hop and R&B. Got to give it out, man. The messaging stayed in there for a little while. It hung there. Think about it. Guys first, even their second album, If We Stay Together, where Aaron was talking about, look, I made a mistake, but girl, let's just stay together. Maybe things won't be the same. We can work it out.
Shoot, H.E.N.R.Y was also trying to have his cake and eat it too on Piece of. As much as I love Piece of My Love, he said, baby, you can't have all of me because I'm not totally free. I can't tell you everything that's going on.
There's too much in my past that cannot be explained.
Yeah. Just chill for a second. Stay with me for a little while.
Oh man,
I think Wisdom said he used to write novels, huh? He had novels.
Oh man, I was the king of writing them letters, man. Oh man,
but you know something about us though? We know how to use the proper vocabulary and the proper English, and we
had to read.
That's what I'm saying. And we look at today and wonder what school you
and write cursive.
Yeah,
I feel bad. These kids don't know how to sign their name.
No, that's a shame, man.
Yeah, they don't know how to sign their name. But to your point, OG, yeah, we had to read.
Yep.
And it wasn't no sucker type stuff to try and woo your lady. You know what I'm saying? You wasn't no sucker for trying to, impress your girl or get your girl, or like you wasn't running, like when we would say running game back then, it wasn't like to take advantage and do nobody dirty. You were just trying to get in like Flynn. You
That's
know what I'm
right.
saying? You trying to get your foot in the door. I'm trying to spit at you, baby.
Yep.
I'm trying to get your attention. You understand what I'm saying? Let me get your number, son, man. Let me talk to you for a little bit. You know, that's what that was about. That wasn't about like I'm trying to get the draw so I could do you dirty.
Right.
You know,
that's one thing I noticed about myself today, and I gotta thank my teachers from back in about spelling and looking.
Oh man. Hey, let me tell you something. When me and my wife, the first Valentine's Day we had together, was 2017. She didn't like it. I'm taking because we knew each other since high school, but we didn't date in high school. But I was trying to take it back, jog her memory, how we used to do back in the day. Then I got her this big, huge bear with a varsity jacket on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge bear, like, you know, I love you and all that. She said, nah, son. Nah, don't because we was dating, we wasn't staying in the same places. So she would walk in a room and see what she thought was like another person. So she didn't like that. But yeah, huge. I'm big on that type of stuff. Huge stuffed animals, balloons, roses, good candy, like all of that stuff, man.
That's what we did.
I remember a time where I was in Germany. I had a girl. We broke up though. But before we broke up, before I knew we were going to break up, I remember I drove down to her spot. And hey, appreciate you for coming by, Jay. There's going to be more of this. Look for us. The Council of OGs, man. It's going to be brothers of a certain age. The qualifying factor, you got to be at least 50. We may let someone like 46, 47 get in, but that's the whole purpose of the Council of OGs, man. You got to have
reach out to him now.
Out there.
Are you familiar with a brother of a certain age? He be in the comments sometime on some of these shows, but he's solid. When you said that, I thought you was talking about him, but yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You broke up with somebody in Germany. Why you break up with him?
Yeah. So funny enough, man, I didn't realize. Remember, I told you before that a woman knows who she's looking for when she gets out of bed in the morning. If you happen to get her attention, it's either the guy that she wants or the acceptable alternative until what she really wants comes along. Yeah. So obviously I was an acceptable place mark for a little while. But the thing here is that you talking about being big on doing things. I drove down to her spot and I had decorated her door. I think she was still at work, but I came with some wine bottles, put at the bottom, the door, put it around the door, paper, the whole deal. And I had a friend that I work with. Yeah, I'm gonna give you a name. I'm gonna say is that Linda. Yeah, I did it. And she Linda and I worked together. She knew the girl I was with at the time, but I recall that going through that period where the breakup was on, I thought, man, I put a lot of effort into this only to find out that the girl I was with started kicking it with the dude she was working with. But here's the thing. When I met her, she had just broken up with somebody. And this is the crazy thing. I'm standing in her apartment and then some dude walks in carrying her groceries. Now, this is going to go to a show I'm going to save for. I don't know if I'm going to do it on my own or with you guys, but I think I told TC the name of the show is going to be called Beauty Entices Manipulation. And the purpose here of, all right, hey, you made it. You can get in with it, and show up enough, and let me see what you got to say. We'll give some consideration here because we're trying to put out here on the internet where if the kids want to open books, they can open a link and they can capture some of the things that they missed because they're too far removed from it. But yeah, good looking in there, man. You qualify to get into the group. You met the first discriminator. But as I said, man, so beauty entices manipulation. And when I say that, think of the halo effect, where it's believed that good-looking people are good people, which is not the case. But sometimes you have attractive people who don't mean to be damaging, but they are. And that could come from their past, or it could be just a behavior of, I know what I look like and I know I can get with it. I'm not saying that this girl was that, but I'm just simply saying that when this dude walked in and saw me standing there, he was shocked. What I didn't know is when she got in the apartment, he put the stuff down, he walked out, he kept kind of looking over at me. It's a German kid, but he kept kind of looking over at me and he walked out and I asked, who was that? She said, oh, that's just my ex-boyfriend. Like, why is he bringing your groceries up here for you? Oh, well, we still talk, we're still cool. I said, really? So how long before I'm that guy? Oh, don't worry about that. Don't I don't see you being that guy. All right. 5-6 months down the road later, I'm coming down. This is after I decorated her door to get some of the stuff that I left there. And I hear giggling going on. I was about maybe 27 or 28, right? So I knock on the door and she opens it up. And there's a dude standing in the apartment looking at me like, who's this?
Mm-hmm.
Yo, yeah, man. Again, so what I'm trying to say here is that no matter where you find yourself or where you stand, somebody is always going to be the next person in line. Now, it may be because of intentional behavior, it may be just things just didn't work out. But understand that this whole deal about relationships, it's about a choice. And we all make those choices. It's one of the things that I think I mentioned something to Alicia or Hunting Wisdom about the possibility of doing a collab on something.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing I ever did, it was called culpability. And the basis of culpability was talking about when you get to the issue of pregnancy. And we talk about messaging. Remember the message when we were growing up? Remember the after school special that would come on TV? My mom's having a baby or a teenage pregnancy. They would always give us a message about here's what to do to avoid this. You have the ability. And they did their best to teach us.
Mm-hmm.
So when it gets to the point to whereas he won't wear a condom, she won't make him put one on. Oh, it's pregnant. Oh, why aren't you helping with the baby? Well, wait a minute. There are two failures in this conversation.
Right.
Two failures in this. I'll leave it right there. But that's something I told her that she might be able to work with me on as far as a collaboration, because that is something that still keeps bouncing back and forth. But I'm thinking this is a conversation for an OG panel. I don't think she's as old as we are as of yet, but a feminine perspective on that is still going to be the same no matter what age it is. But the thing that I'm talking about here is choice. But when we talk about the message was clear. Do not engage in unprotected sex if you don't want sexually transmitted disease, if you don't want children, anything like that. The message was there. And there was even songs about that. But I'm not going to keep everybody any much longer here because we could probably roll on for this because, again, this is a topic and this is three brothers here. You're talking about between the three of us, there's about 120 plus years of living. So there's a lot. Look, she said 41. I don't qualify. Yeah. The topic, we may give you a waiver for the discussion. How's that sound? We'll give you a waiver so we can have the topic.
Yeah.
That way we can have the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I'll go ahead and land the plane right now because I know you guys may have to get up for work. Well, hell, TC doesn't. ChicagoRilla, you just got on, so you got the late shift in the morning, right?
Man.
And me, I'm home, but I'm in between right about now because I've got a new contract that I'm getting ready to start on. So before I get started with that, I'm making the best of my time here. So I'll go ahead and we'll start wrapping this up. So TC, what you got for last words?
Man, I appreciate this. Y'all making you making me think. I mean, that's that's why I love you guys. You guys make my brain work. And I think that's a good thing. It is. I appreciate you guys a lot. I really do. This means a lot.
Hey, appreciate you being here. Rilla, what you got for last and final thoughts, man?
Yeah, no, we appreciate you, OG. All the honor and respect due. Because you laid past that you don't even recognize or know, right? In your small corner of the globe, you laid past for us to walk through some certain doors, right? But yeah, man, very dope subject, very dope show. Good discussion. It's always good to build and just focusing in. And you know what's interesting? Out of all the negative music that we tend to see and hear about, it's just good to reflect and take a moment and then just remember and reminisce, when the music had a message, right? And for the young bloods that may be catching this on the replay, right? We're not saying that you got to recreate our memories. We're saying create new memories, telling the authentic, genuine stories for your generation. Right. So if you want to be a rapper, Don't get out here and mumble just to chase a bag, right? Be the individual that's telling stories to connect to your generation so that those coming behind you will know exactly what was going on for the time that you were here, right? Be fearless about telling those stories, right? If it's a story around relationship, tell it in the most authentic way possible, man, because somebody will connect with that, learn from that, and grow from that, man. All love, always, family.
Yes, sir.
And I'll leave it at this. I'll drop my last bit here. The message that's put out here, again, when music had a message, the message is basically going to come down to your intrinsic value, what you find to be of worth. And in order for it to have any value to someone else, you have to share that value. And I keep saying this, and I'll continue saying that value has no worth unless it's agreed upon, because ultimately you get what you qualify for. And it sounds like a harsh statement, but in reality, we do get what we qualify for based on what we provide and what we show to someone else. And if it's within their liking, it's something that we both share, then you have a complementary style. And that's the problem that I see missing more often than not. We do not have people who think about whether or not their behavior, the way they conduct themselves, and whether or not it qualifies and quantifies for that other person. There has to be something equal in there. We're talking reciprocity. But before that, let's think about the message that both of you need to share. You have to be able to agree. But in not doing so, there is this thing called compromise. As I mentioned before in a previous video, a person who is willing to put their time in for a relationship is going to ensure that you hear the words concern, compromise, communication. You're going to hear those type of words that are going to be spoken, because that is what it takes for a relationship to work. The message is going to be held between the two of you, but it's got to be something of value. So last but not least, I'll go ahead and say it one last time. Or before I do, I want to say thank you before I forget to everyone who joined us in the chat. Thank you, Alicia or Hunting Wisdom. Appreciate you for showing up. Jay Jameson, good looking out, man. I know you got here a little bit late, but I'm glad that Touch put you over here with us. So if you show up again, man, hey, by all means, hey, we'll talk about you getting up here with us.
Yeah.
Hey, as always, shout out to John. Dawn is over in France, by the way. So when she got up here with us, it was almost time for her to get out of bed. But I appreciate her nonetheless. She was one of the first folks to show up over here. Yo, I can touch my longtime homeboy going on 30 some odd years. Again, I want to make sure people know this. After he's done healing up, this is the house DJ that I'm looking here. So instead of us having to go out to YouTube to pull a couple of things down, Tees may be able to do it for us. So shout out again for Touch. All right, and I think Agent Smith, he popped his head in here for a moment. Good to see that you didn't come in here with that mess this time around. Glad to have you. Like I said, hey, I got nothing with anyone showing up here as long as you don't bring the messiness with you.
Yeah.
And I believe who else? I think, yeah, that was pretty much it. So find somebody who knows somebody to tell somebody about what's going on over here. If you like it, let us know. Share it if you do. And subscribe if this is what you're looking for. Jon H.E.N.R.Y, ChicagoRilla, Top Cat, a.k.a. the Council of OGs. And we out.
We out.